And we're live. Cool. All right. So basically, what I kind of wanted to do is kind of get your thoughts on, because you were mentioning on Twitter that you thought Antifa was kind of a crucial.
Yeah, I think that was the exact word I used, actually.
Yeah, specifically. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Why you specifically think that. I don't want to make this as much of a debate as I want to make it a
discussion, like a casual conversation about.
Yeah, because I think I like debates. But it's not a thing that I specifically think we need to like nail down huge amounts of information as much as more of a, I don't know. Like if we were talking about specific anarcho-communism or anarcho, whatever, then we would probably need to do more of a debate style thing with points and a moderator, but since I kind of think this is a little more of a vague topic, then we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm looking forward to it. It'd be nice to have a nice casual conversation about a topic.
Yeah. So what time is it there? Like midnight?
Yeah, it's midnight here.
Oh boy.
So I mean, I've streamed later than this, so
okay.
I
was just making sure because like I don't plan on doing this like a super long time necessarily.
Yeah,
but
same.
I just think it would probably be, useful. Anybody? What's up, Lane? Just trying to make sure people are actually seeing this.
I've put it on my Twitter, so
okay.
Hopefully a few people should come over. Guarantee you now that S-Man speaks all like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I saw him. He argues with you quite a lot, I think.
I don't know what it is. Like he sure every tweet I make, every video I make, it's just he's somewhere there.
Well, let him know. Just be like, hey, S-Man.
He'll find out. He'll see. Okay. He adds my videos to playlists, so I'm not sure.
All right, let's see.
Anyway, shall we dive right in then, or are you still
give me another minute or so. I'm kind of getting adjusted here.
Okay, no worries.
So, what I saw your somewhat not debate with the white YouTuber the other day.
That was disappointing. I was. I mean, I know he said, "Oh, let's just do it casual. Let's just have a nice, calm conversation," and I was fine with that. But I thought it was still going to sort of be about like politics and stuff. Like I thought we were still going to like sort of talk about ideas, just in a jovial sort of way. And instead, it's just him sort of making jokes, having a laugh, and it's like, well, I didn't come here for this. I wanted to sort of at least talk about something instead of just sort of messing around and stuff. And then when I left. I listened to like the next few minutes and it's like just turned into a bit of a ramble. And then I checked back the next day and it went on for like 2 hours plus.
Yeah.
Like what's the point?
He tends to do that. I streamed with him the other day and him and Jim and I for I don't know when I came in. They've probably been streaming for like an hour and a half. So, and I think by the time it was done, it was like 5 hours. So but there was all kinds of people on the stream, so it's not like a complete waste, and so. But that's the type of streams that we do in my little part of the internet. So I had
like notes and stuff, but I had like little talking points I wanted to go over with him, and instead it was just that.
And so, what was it supposed to? It's supposed to be capitalism versus what? Just socialism?
I think it was just capitalism, to be honest. I mean, they always sort of end up going there anyway because like they're sort of quite connected topics. But obviously, like that was the starting point. It never really took off because like I would say something and he'd say like an obviously like non-existent answer. So he'd say like when I mentioned climate change, he'd be like, "Oh, well, can't we just move inland?"
I heard that. All right. I can't find this S-Man Speaks on here because I'm not following, I don't think.
Oh, are you actually looking for it?
I was actually looking to see if I could get someone to actually some of our haters to watch and or some people who are actually interested in watching. So I'm trying to wait on a few more people to get here because I only see 2. So give me a second. Let's see.
He'll find us eventually. I mean, even if he doesn't watch it live, like he'll still like one of the debates I had with someone else called Zach Edwards, I think. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Zach Edwards. He did like a stream with Zach afterwards talking about that debate, and like they talked about like my debates with them both. And he did one with War Corps as well. They debated War Corps, and then like the day or so after, he was talking to War Corps about his debate with me. It's like, oh, and it's just strange. I mean, even today, like I tweet something about like socialism, and he's like, "Oh, here's a rebuttal," and like the video is like from Zach Edwards, and I mention it's like, "Oh, I hear socialists saying this. I hear Owen MacDonald saying this," and it's like I'm not famous. I've got like 300 subs. I'm not exactly like a big name. Why am I being cited as like the socialist? Like,
Well, I mean, so what who are the choices of socialists? It's you and what, Garrett?
well, I don't know. There's loads on like social media, but
Well,
I seem
yeah,
to be like the only one.
your little clique, I guess, for a better lack of a better word. It's you and Garrett. I don't know the specific how much the other people in your little clique are like far left socialist as far as that goes.
Well, I mean, I don't really know Garrett that well. Like he likes a lot of my tweets, but I've never really had a conversation with him. He seems nice enough though.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to him about Antifa too, but like he blocked me, so that's
he blocked you.
Yeah, he blocked me. I think it happened with around that time that what's his name? That Russian Deadpool guy did that thing. And
yeah.
I just kind of I had the suggestion that, hey, let's not, this might be premeditated, so maybe just not jump to conclusions. And he got really upset about that, so he blocked me.
Well, I mean, you can sort of understand, like at that sort of time, emotions were high.
Yeah, and I think that might have been the time.
Given what was going on with some figures in like the anti-SJW sort of crowd, like who were making some pretty tasteless comments about it all, like you could sort of see why they were a bit more prone to blocking and stuff, because if someone has just died and like you got all these people sort of making jokes, like you might forgive them for sort of wanting.
And I'm not the kind of guy who like attack people on Twitter. I'm usually pretty cordial, even in my disagreements. I'm like, well, why do you think that way? What makes your brain connect these two things that I don't connect them to,
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I think it's important to maintain civility with people. There's obviously some exceptions, but
yeah, I think that around that time is when Christy Winters also blocked me for around the same thing, probably. I think Michael Rowlands has blocked me from the get-go since he saw that my avatar was a cartoon. He's like, oh, that can't be good.
Well,
like you can't have it.
Like I think all 3 of them are pretty decent. I'm pretty fond of them.
Well, actually, it was funny because I actually asked one of my first tweets on this specific account was to ask Michael Rowlands what his like recording setup is, because I know he's a guitar player and he likes to record, and he does videos and stuff like that. And I'm also a guitar player and do kind of the same things. So I was trying to like, be nice and and he's like, nah. So
well.
We got 5 people, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah.
So why I guess go ahead and give me your spiel of
why Antifa, essentially.
Why you think that they're necessary? Because I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I think you just have to look at the current climate. You look at the far right and their sort of growth. You look at the alt-right and how they've sort of managed to mask their most latent and obvious views with just calling themselves the alt-right. And given how much they're swelling in growth, and given how they're sort of appealing to so many people and marching in places, it's necessary to have a sort of forceful movement to sort of prevent that. We can look at history to see how the Nazis were able to gain so much influence. And a lot of it was because the SA and later the SS went unopposed in the streets. And the communists, actually, the Communist Party, and left Antifa back in Nazi Germany, and Weimar Republic, they organized against it. But we saw centrists and conservatives and sort of left-leaning liberals, like they didn't really see it as much of an issue. They said, oh, well, we're not doing anything, we're not really being that bad. And it sort of never really took off. And as a result, obviously, the Nazis took power. And I'm not saying that America's the exact same scenario as Germany was.
Yeah,
obviously that would be a little bit silly, but you can't deny that the similarities are there. We're seeing a far right that's growing because we're not addressing the real problems. And whether you think that's regardless of where you think the problems lie, there is a growing far right, and you need to have a proper opposition to deal with them.
Well, I mean, but most people are like against the far right, like the, alt right. There's not like I think you're overestimating the reach and scope of the alt right. Most of the people are, let's see here. How do I say this? How do I gather? The general public, either all pretty much anybody who sees anything like what happened in Charlotte, even before the car thing happened, they're like, no, fuck those guys. We don't, we're not screwing with it. They're all pissed off. So it's not like there's nobody I know. And I live in a place that's like, I don't live in the South. So there's, let's see, there would be people that would have, I don't know, it's not how do I say this without making South sound bad? There are people that have those kind of leanings that they're like, okay, well, these people are just trying to protect this monument, which is, I'm kind of okay with the monuments being in like battlefields and stuff, and museums and whatnot. But there's people like that would be okay, but when they start seeing the swastikas and stuff come out, then they're all like, no, not these guys. We're cool with the statues and stuff being there because that's history, I mean, you can't tear down everything that is related to bad things in history. You just can't do that. But I don't know. But continue with what you were going on with. Sorry.
That's fine. I respond to what you said. So firstly, you're saying that people don't agree with the far right, and yeah, that's true. Most people aren't going to be suddenly like, yeah, I'm far right, I'm gonna join the alt right all of a sudden. But it's important to make a distinction between how people view the far right and how far right represent themselves today. So if you ask most people, oh, are you a Nazi? Or do you support Nazism? Everyone's going to say no, obviously. Same thing with oh, do you support the KKK? Do you sympathize with the KKK? Everyone will say no straight away. But that's where the far right are clever. They call themselves the alt-right, identitarians, people who just want to challenge the norms and want to look out for their culture and stuff. They use different terminology to push the same ideas, essentially, in watered-down form to sort of normalize it. Which is why, you saw after Trump's election, all these sort of pieces on Richard Spencer portraying him as some alternate politics and stuff, and some edgy guy who just had a few slightly questionable views. But then you look at what he says and what he does, and a lot of it's essentially the same thing as what the far right do and what the established KKK and Nazi Party do, where they view the white race as needing to protect itself and preserve itself, where they view anyone who's not white as a sort of threat to that, where they view encouraging LGBT plus people to be able to be open and stuff and be happy as degeneracy and the decay of Western culture and stuff. And it's largely the same sort of stuff. And when you have these people marching through areas, essentially representing the ideas and the beliefs of the far right, that is a threat to people who they target, obviously minorities, LGBT, all those sort of groups. So I think it's necessary to have something like Antifa to organize against them, because it's dangerous having these ideas just out in the open. I'll come on to what you said a bit later, so that you can speak now. But you go ahead.
Basically, but okay, so let's try and differentiate people who, because you say the alt-right, and like, let's see, about a year ago, that meant something completely different than it means now. So the people, I think a lot of times when people say that there's a big contingency of people in the alt-right, it's like if you were going on last year's definition, or slightly, yeah, about last year's definition of the alt-right, then you would have a different set of people that you're talking about. Like the current alt-right is mostly the Richard Spencer types, and the other people, because like I remember a while back, so Roaming Millennial did a stream with Richard Spencer, and I think somebody else did something with another one of those people. And to be honest, I didn't actually know what their actual beliefs were, other than making spicy memes and like, there's the spicy memes and the trolling and the, Trump's gonna win type of stuff, which is fun. That's not a big deal. The Pepe memes were, just, jokes and stuff like that. That's what most people thought the alt-right was like around this time last year. So it's incredibly different now that we kind of know actually what these people believe. So like Richard Spencer, for instance, he is very he's very, how do I say this? He's pro border control, right? And he's for an ethno state, but all of his other policies are quite socialist. So like he's he's up for like the single payer healthcare, universal basic income, all these wealth redistribution policies. So that's totally, and then people try and I guess lump when they see like some dude like that with a MAGA hat on, and then they see just a regular conservative type of person who just wants the president to do a good job. When they get those people together, they try and put those people together and make it a bigger group than it actually is. Does that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Like the alt-right is actually super tiny, and if you're talking about who is actually like the ethno state, the pro ethno state people, I
see where you're coming from. Like they're obviously the alt-right itself,
white genocide people.
the people who are like literally calling themselves alt-right, they may be a sort of small group. However, that's what I was saying comes in, because alt-right has become a focus of much criticism from politics, and many people have had to sort of denounce them, or either say, oh well, they're this or that. They've changed their names, like identitarian stuff, and just like avoiding these sort of political ideologues at all. Like, obviously they'll bash the left, but they won't really call themselves much. Because of the focus on stuff. Like obviously alt-right isn't as bad as KKK or Nazi is for your image, but right. If you have lesser like negative connotations, like it's easier to normalize your views. If like people hear Nazi, they're going to be obviously immediately like switched off to it. But if they just call it something else, like identitarian, for instance, they're going to have an easier job of it. Coming on to what you said about Richard Spencer, I mean, yeah, he does have some left-leaning policies, but to call it socialist, which I think is a little bit not disingenuous, but like poorly worded, because socialism is the workers owning and controlling the means of production. And while it is true that like healthcare, universal income, those are relatively left-wing ideas.
Yeah, but like
they don't actually see the means of production being handed to the workers. He's still very much a capitalist. He just agrees with making capitalism a little bit easier for workers.
I'm gonna
and
just kind of cut in real quick.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I don't think that these guys are. They say that they're pro-capital. I don't think they're even pro-capitalism, because like, I mean, capital. The cool thing about capitalism is it knows no racial. It knows no. It just know the only color capitalism knows is green. So
might slightly disagree there, but we'll come on to that another time. But you continue.
But yeah, so like, I mean, so they're a white identitarian, which I think they're slightly different. So they think that and I don't really want to defend these guys, but I think there is a distinction to make between some of these dudes and the ethno-state people. Like there's some people I see that don't want white people just to be attacked for no apparent reason, just to be like, they don't believe that they did anything wrong, so they try and they're like, how do I say this without? They're just defending white people that that didn't do anything. So there's those people versus the Richard and the Richard Spencer types, and then you go further and you get the Nazi and KKK types. So I mean, those people are kind of on the fence. Are kind of, they can still be good people, I think. They just want to, they don't want everyone to attack white people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. But do you think this is born of a place of privilege in a way? Like, I mean, obviously privilege is quite an overused term, but it's kind of true. Like, they've been asked to sort of consider how their status as being white does hand them some advantages in society, and that there is still a lot of discrimination, regardless of what rights and people in place and power and stuff have been put in. Like, a lot of people sort of assumed that, like, when Obama took office, racism was over because we've got a black leader, we're racially equal now. And yeah, there's a like little art the day of it being happening. Yeah, it's nice to think, we've fixed all our problems, but then like 8 years later, clearly that's not the case, because we still have mass police brutality, unfair voting laws, mass incarceration problems. And thus you hear people still saying, no, we need change. Being black isn't a straightforward ride. And yeah, a lot of people will be uncomfortable when they hear this, because, obviously being told that you have things privileged in society and you do face some advantages isn't always nice to hear, because it's like, oh, well, does that mean that I'm racist? Does that mean that I'm this and that? And then you see the far right coming in and saying, oh, well, you're being attacked for doing nothing wrong. White people are being attacked so much. Now it's time to consolidate with your race and stuff. And that's how people sort of enter in, because they see the legitimacy supposedly of people saying, oh, well, you're bad and you're this and that. And they'll say, oh, well, I'm not racist. So these people saying white people need to defend themselves, they're right. And that's where it all starts. That's where it snowballs and becomes a more insidious view. So like you see the far right, look at the amount of talking points they've managed to sort of force into discussion. Look at their sort of rhetoric about race realism. Like, before, a few years ago, no one would even consider touching like that sort of subject. So it's like trying to argue that black people are like genetically inferior to white people and stuff, and like that race is a biological construct. But now you see so many people sort of think that there is genuinely like biological difference between like black and white people, and that like Africans like a subspecies and stuff.
Yeah, those people are idiots. But continue.
But they're numerous. They're people who actually believe that. Look at the discussions about immigration. Like, before, it used to be like, oh, we don't like illegal immigration, and yeah, fine. There's all the I disagree. There's obviously going to be disagreement, but it wasn't so much like it wasn't so much based on race. But like, now you look at it and it's an incredibly like intense subject now. Like, loads of people want no one who's not American coming in. Look at the way American is defined. Like, they see people like thinking Americanism is like needing to be white and straight and believe in traditional values. And
okay, I'm going to cut you off there because if I let you go, you're just going to keep going. So, no offense or anything, but you seem to be on a roll. But I'm going to have to cut you.
I love talking.
It's all right. So basically, what you were saying about privilege, I think that there are so many underprivileged. There's so many people who don't see the type of privilege that you're talking about.
Oh, I
That
completely agree.
well, yeah, but the way that it's framed, it's not a doesn't need to be a white privilege thing because it's not not necessarily a basically it's not necessarily a white thing as much as it is a money thing. The only real the only real privilege in this society is just coming into money that you didn't earn. So just the people that inherit their wealth and like the people who have rich parents, the people who, you know, basically a lot of these, bringing it back to Antifa, a lot of these people who are in Antifa have like these rich parents, and a lot of the people that are in these type of groups, they're, you know, a lot of them are part of the 1%. You know, these people are like, you know, act like they're fighting for people, but meanwhile they're, you know, they've got all the nicest things and they've got designer jeans on and all this other crap. So
well, a few things.
Just basically the idea that it's because like there are plenty of people, I guess, to use a phrase, people of color, which I hate using because it sounds too much like colored people. They have a lot. You know, it's just the amount of money. Like Beyonce's kids are going to have way more privilege in life than I have ever had or will ever have. So, I mean, and President Obama's kids are going to have more privilege than I will ever have. So it's a thing like that. It's more of a status thing than it is a racial based thing, and that's why these people get so pissed off because I mean there are people in the ghettos and like the poor, like the poorer parts of town, that have mostly minority, you know, type in minorities in them, that those people are rich in comparison to like the Appalachian people, you know, white people and all these different, like, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, you know, they I mean, having to actually hunt and get food, hunt to get food, rather than, some of these people barely get their mail on time. They have to actually go they can't even get the mail delivered to their house. So there's so many actual privileges. I mean, it just seems like an excuse at some time, at some point.
I can
the
white
privilege thing
from.
does.
Yeah. So I'll come to a few things.
I just think it's kind of a toxic thing, and I think if we got away from using it, that it would probably be a lot better, and we wouldn't have to have so much division. I think it just breeds more division that is unneeded, if that makes sense.
I see where you're coming from completely, but I mean, I do disagree. Firstly, you said that like wealth inequality and like people being born into money compared to people who aren't born into money, and yeah, absolutely, I completely agree that that is the overriding problem. Wealth inequality is a colossal problem in society, and capitalism and the sort of inequalities that come with that is what needs to be addressed on the whole. But I think there is still massive problems with different sections of society. So like gender, like race, like sexuality and stuff, we still have problems with that. And I don't think there is anything bad with identifying that Black people face a lot of stuff more than white people do. And I'm not trying to be divisive here. I'm not trying to say, oh, well, no white person is suffering less than any Black person, or more than any Black person, because that's obviously not true. Like you said, there are going to be Black people who are wealthier, and there are going to be white people who are poorer. But on average, I mean, if you look at these sort of urban areas where Black people live, they get less funding, they get far worse treatment from the police, more stereotypes, and then to make matters worse, you see people like the ones you described, sort of saying, "Oh, well, look at Beyonce, look at Obama. Black people have it fine. We're the real ones suffering." And I think that's quite unfair because, like, Beyonce and Obama, like, they're very much the minority of black people. And, like, for every Beyonce, there's like
Yeah, but they started from the bottom. Now they're here.
I mean, but they didn't. Though. Like, Obama came from quite a wealthy
Yeah,
family.
that's true. But Beyonce, though, I mean,
but they're like 1 in a million success stories. They're not the norm at all.
yeah,
Like most people who are born into like
there
say
are so
Brooklyn,
many people that have done that, though. Like,
but
just
there are colossally more who haven't, and that
oh,
is
of
poverty.
course. I mean,
Exactly.
that all comes down to what your basically what your upbringing is like. So, like, I
I
mean,
disagree because you could have the best parents in the world, but if
it's
you
just like what you were saying earlier, the about how the racial IQ thing is kind of garbage. So that's you know they the white nationalist people try and bring that up as a well, black people have a lower IQ on average. I'm like, well, yeah, that's because they're brought up in crappy situations, and then they're not brought up with a full family, and then they're it's there's a lot of I think that if that's the kind of privilege we're talking about, then yeah, then a lot of white people probably have a more amount of privilege than some of the black people do, or just other groups, if that makes sense. You getting what I'm saying?
well, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So a lot of that has to do with
But I
this.
disagree with the causation. Right? I think you can sort of say that, oh, well, it's the family that's the problem. It's like poorly raised people. I mean, yeah, obviously there are going to be
Yeah,
problems.
well, that's what I'm also saying is they.
If I can finish.
Sorry, I just
That's
have.
nice.
I'm ADD.
IQ, like IQ is like not a it's not a valid way to measure people by because it's not really that accurate at determining people's like intelligence, and certainly not as like platitude for like the entirety. But like because you can be bad at an IQ test and then have a low IQ, but be an intelligent person. Like intelligence isn't just some like, oh, I've got this many points of intelligence. It's like quite a broad thing. But I think we need to just sort of draw this back to Antifa because that was the sort of main.
Okay, yeah. We just got off on the alt right, so I was just trying to bring up how garbage their situate. How I was trying to sum it all together. They're all their stupid ideas about race and stuff are due more to societal things. And
I mean, bringing up. Granted, like the far right are sort of related to what we're talking about, but still. Anyway, you said that Antifa were just like rich people coming around with jeans and stuff and phones, and well, yeah, there are going to be people who aren't perhaps traditionally like poor and working class. I mean, there are a lot of working class people in Antifa, and secondly, like you have to understand that working class people who support Antifa might not have the money to like be able to come and attend one of these rallies and go and like help out with Antifa, like because Antifa is not like a one organization. It's essentially just a movement of people who want to oppose fascism. But there certainly are working class people.
Well, like say like with Antifa and like even back in the a while back Occupy, the people who were there were people who could afford to just kind of hang out and do that kind of stuff. Like even the reason like in America why there aren't like protests or that many marches for like the right or like libertarians or any of that stuff is because these people are actually working. I mean, they're like, no, I don't have time to take off on a Monday. And meanwhile, these trust fund kids have all this time to just go out and protest whatever, or either they don't have jobs or they're living with their parents or they have some way of supporting their silliness.
I wouldn't quite call it silliness, but that's also like if you're for instance, if you're living with your parents and you've got people like you're only able to go because your parents are sort of providing for it, that doesn't mean that you're not in poverty yourself. And also like consider all the poor people who also really want change and also are really left wing, but they can't go because obviously like they'll lose their job if they take time to go and like get some rally for a few days. But anyway, Antifa. I think the main thing for me is that the far right and all their ideas, they're growing. In regards of what we say about how you think about like what they're called and stuff, people are growing. People who want more capitalism, who want more control of I don't know, like minorities and stuff, who see white America as the idealized America. Maybe not explicitly, but they certainly want less like an LGBT, less anti-traditional values. They are growing. There's a lot of views that match that of traditional far right stuff. And we need people to oppose that before it goes too late. And it's not enough just to say as a platitude, oh, I don't like Nazis. You need to actually act against it, because as history shows, if you don't act early enough, they'll end up getting more power. I mean, we already see what Trump's doing in America. Like, if that gets much worse, like, what is America going to be facing?
I don't. So, if 99% of the population is against you, if 99.9% of the population is against you, why does there have to be a special group just set out there to do, to attack and do violence against these people?
What's 99.9% of the country against?
99.9% of the country, I would say, is probably against those alt-right douchebags.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, is 99% of the country like against like every single faction of the far right? They're not all called alt-right, as you yourself said earlier. They changed their names,
right?
And certainly the ideas behind fascism and the far right, they're not all things that Americans disagree. I mean, look at a recent poll. Like 60% of Americans said that white nationalism was a threat. 40% didn't. 40% don't view it as an active threat. That's
I mean, that's the. You might be misunderstanding that, because they don't think it's a threat. That doesn't mean that they endorse it.
No, but like they were asked like specific questions, I think, about like.
Do I think white nationalism is a threat? No, I don't, because I don't think they're going anywhere, because they're idiots.
They drove a car into someone at one of their protests.
Yeah, and there was another one of the Antifa guys who was going to do the same, basically the same kind of thing.
What's that?
I've heard that there was one of the Antifa guys that was supposed to do something similar. And
are you sure? Because the like 4chan and stuff and like far right groups, they've been like spreading misinformation. Like, for instance, you may have seen like there's some posters saying like, oh, Antifa want like Nazi mums give Nazi kids, punch Nazis and like Nazi women in the face and stuff, and like attacking pregnant women, and it was fake. It was just like 4chan just putting.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of that shit.
And like the have you seen?
I wouldn't put it past them at all.
I know they're not going to attack pregnant women.
Well, no. Obviously not. But I'm not gonna say that. I mean, these are people that are just attacking people with Trump hats. Just anybody who happens to be.
That was one person in Antifa. I have to remember, Antifa's not it's not like a set organization with a chair.
Oh, I know. I'm aware. It's the idea that all these people are Nazis and we have to beat the shit out of them just because.
I mean, yeah, in a way, they're fascists and they're growing, and it's not like it's like one or two people sort of like just chanting like, yeah, Hitler was right and stuff. It's a growing movement that is sort of in. If you look at where Trump stands and sort of ideas and views he's got, it's like backed politically. Like, Trump is a friend and a tool to the far right, because it's sort of like he's a tool to normalizing their ideas. Like, look at what they're doing to immigrants.
What ideas?
Like, so like the idea that America has to be some like white traditional area. Like, look at what they're doing to immigrants. Sorry? He's never gonna explicitly say it, but look at the way he's acting towards like immigrants and people of color and stuff. He's like defunding inner city black areas.
I'm pretty sure I've been watching the news and seeing him hug a whole bunch of people down in Texas that are all kinds of different colors and races and stuff. So it's nothing.
But
he seems to embrace.
That's a platitude, though, isn't it? Like, that's just empty. It's easy just to hug someone, but then if you look at what he's signing into, like actual power, and he's supporting immigrants. Like, he's
illegal immigrants.
they're not all illegal. They're just like undocumented, and that's not like
illegal. That's the same thing.
No, but like many of them were born in America, and
no, he can't deport those people. Those people cannot be deported.
Well, they are being deported. Like,
no, their parents are being deported. Now, if they choose to stay, they can stay, but their parents have to leave. So like that's the way our immigration system works is like if you have a baby here and you're, and you're an immigrant, that baby is an American citizen. You are not.
Do you think
So
that's pretty like disgusting though? But even so, that's even people who have legal papers, like they're getting deported. Like there have been many incidences of ICE just getting people and getting families and stuff. And even so, that's not a fair way to go about it, is it? Like it's just miserable seeing people, families torn apart. And it's not like they're just like finding obvious people who are like getting stuff. They're going to schools and getting kids and stuff. Like, do you not think that's a bit sickening? Like immigrants and stuff, they're not leaving their homes because they're worried ICE are going to go and get them.
No, okay. Let me ask you something real quick. When you go and you look for information, as far as news and stuff goes, sorry if I'm chewing too loud. I hope I'm not. Where do you go? Like, do you go and check? See, when I go and check for information, I go and check like everything from Breitbart to Slate. So I'm checking all these different information just in case one is a little too biased in one direction and one is a little too biased in the other direction. So we actually.
Well, I know I'm the same. I follow a few more right wing conservative views, and obviously my Twitter's mainly like socialist and stuff. So I have a lot of left wing sites. Interestingly, though, if you look at the sort of reliability of left wing sites and stuff, and I'm not talking about like CNN or something or like something like that because they're obviously not left wing or reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about like proper. Sorry.
I said if you say so. Most
they're not CNN. CNN aren't
pretty much in the U.S. Most of them have a left wing bias.
They're Democrats. They're not. Democrats aren't left wing. They're just left of the Republicans.
Okay. Okay, they have a left wing bias, not a far left wing bias. If that's what you want to say.
The Democrats, there's no left properly, is there? Look at what the Democrats like stand for, like neoliberalism. Like no, half the Democrats like despise like the idea of even having any like provided for healthcare. No tax reforms.
I doubt that, but okay.
Look at like Nancy Pelosi.
There
you go. Yeah,
she sounds like a pasta dish.
Look at all these like people who are in the Democrat Party.
Nancy Pelosi. I think she's for single payer. So, I mean, that's pretty. And she's she's not. She's a bad example of what you're asking about. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody like maybe a Jim Webb or something, who's a little more right, even though they're a Democrat. But
the Democrat Party aren't left wing. Like you can't say
they're not far left, but they are left.
They're not left. Like look at where your parties stand in America, like compared to the rest of the world. You're like the Bernie Sanders was considered like a really far left candidate by many Americans. He's campaigning for things we already have in Europe. Like
right.
Europe's not far left. It's just like
you're okay. So you have to look at your political spectrum versus our political spectrum. Technically, even the far right aren't. Let's see. How do I say this without making it sound weird? If you were to take our political spectrum, like constitutional conservatives being on the right, and the lefts would be socialist. The farther you go right, the more you go into ANCAPs and minarchists, and then ANCAPs. Technically, I guess that's why they have the political thing, because they go into the far right or authoritarian, and they're not even that technically far right. But like, so like the Democrats would be, they've moved further to the left recently. So
through pressure from the actual left. Like, if many of the senior Democrats wouldn't have adopted many of the things they've said if Bernie Sanders wasn't so popular.
You got to think that on the right, as far as Republicans go, a lot of Republicans, they don't like the actual elected, or a lot of the right don't actually like the elected Republicans because they're not doing anything about national debt, spending, all this pork barrel stuff that is, their, bread and the base is bread and butter. So the right isn't even right, if that makes sense. So like, a lot of the Republicans they go from kind of the squishy John McCain-ish type of Republicans and then the further right you go, you get a Ted Cruz, and then you get a Rand Paul, as far as constitutional, I'm not going to spend that much money type of Republicans. So it's very different than what you have over there, because we don't have like in office, we don't have like nationalists, I guess, and that's another thing you said about nationalism. Is you have like nationalists, like a like race-based nationalists, like a European.
We had yeah, of course, yeah, but
when people say that you're a nationalist here, that can be like America is based on like, it's not a country founded on a like an ethnic background. It's like it's I mean it kind of is, but it's more along the lines of an idea. So America is based on ideas. Well, whereas someone could be a nationalist and say, I want America first, but that doesn't mean that I want white people in America first. If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, obviously you can say that.
But that's what nationalism is here, not ethno-nationalism.
But people who like identify as like nationalists and like
Trump is a nationalist. He is he's a nationalist, but he's not an ethno-nationalist.
Well, I mean, like if you look at what he's doing, if you look at where the cuts are coming, for instance, they're all being targeted towards predominantly black areas. If you look at what he's saying, like when he sort of like gave a boost to the police and was saying like, "Oh, be more violent," essentially is what he said through coded language to the police, and his like failure to denounce.
Well, okay, when he says be more violent, that's because that. A lot of these places where these violent protests are taking place, the police are told to stand down and don't do anything.
He wasn't. No, he wasn't talking about violent things. There, he was talking about like general arrests and stuff.
They've been giving people like this. All these places where these people, where the cops are supposed to be intervening to stop this kind of nonsense that's been happening with Antifa and the far right. They've been told not to get involved by their by the mayor or the governor.
They don't intervene with the far right. They don't like tackle the far right properly. The actual threat. In fact, the police are actually currently under investigation of the FBI for sort of a white supremacy problem because there's quite a few white supremacists in the police. And funnily enough, Trump actually defunded that. So. It's pretty like sketchy. It's quite bad. I'm not saying he's an out and out like fascist Nazi, but he's a proto-fascist. His policies are what ultra capitalism, like deregulation of the free market even further.
Well, ultra capitalism is not a word, but continue.
Well, it's a hyphenated word.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to call it then?
Just a capitalist. I mean, he's not even really like he's a protectionist, so that's technically not even like. There's not even a free market capitalist. That's a like
it is very much still a free market. Like he's removed a lot of environmental protections for one, which is obviously going to save his business mates money and stuff.
Well, there are other reasons to do that as well.
Why would you want to remove environmental protections apart from saving money?
Well, okay, so one, there's a lot of things that, as far as why are we talking about environmental protections? Let's get back to Antifa. I'm going to go off in a spiel, and it's going to take like 20 minutes. Let's go back to Antifa.
Antifa. Well, for me, it's just like you want to stop the far right from getting anywhere, and yeah, you need to oppose them. And I'm always, as someone who is a target, like someone who's mixed race, like if you think about like the white genocide idea, the idea that like white people are going to get replaced and stuff, like I'm the sort of person they would target as someone who's mixed race. Like I'm the sort of person that is supposedly the proof of white genocide. And it's like I'm under. I mean, it sounds ridiculous saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm under threat." Like it's obviously not personally going for me, but yeah, my ethnicity is the sort of thing they see as bad. And yeah, I'm always going to stand behind and support a movement like Antifa, which explicitly opposes fascism and does stuff about it instead of just saying it and then doing nothing.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got lost there for a second. I mean, what do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think? Why the violence? You think that part is needed to beat these people up?
To fight fascists.
Well, whoever. Do you
Um,
think that that's needed?
well, yeah, I think fighting the far right is important. Their ideas and themselves are
Okay, well
inherently
then fight
violent.
the ideas. Don't fight the people.
Well,
That's
yeah,
me.
but
I know
what
you.
good is just fighting the ideas? Like when they're a physical presence and they're gonna like enforce their ideas and maintain their views through their
They
violence.
aren't going to enforce their ideas. There's
Well, they
no.
already are. Look at their way. Look at the way they're treating um, immigrants. Look at the rise in sort of crimes towards ethnicities and Muslims and stuff since Trump's been elected. Like they're already sort of enforcing and forcing their views about ethnicities onto people, and it's being justified with, oh, they were illegal anyway. They're not a true American and stuff, and that doesn't justify the violence and the disgusting way that these people, these human beings, are being treated. And like dehumanizing the people who the white nationalists pose, that's like the first step. That's the way they get more credence for their views. It's like, oh, it's okay because they're un-American. Look at the way trans people have been treated. Like the far right explicitly view them as like degenerate and stuff. And already Trump is defunding their protections. He's kicked them out of the military.
Well,
He's
that's a different thing.
oh, it's all connected. It's the far right do not like LGBT, especially
Oh,
trans people.
I'm
Like,
aware. I'm aware of that. But
no, exactly. So
Trump, the military thing is a totally different thing. But
the end product is still the same, though. Banning trans people from state apparatus and state.
okay, doing the let's see, how do I say this? Doing something that you would perceive as one thing does not always mean that that is the purpose of that specific thing. So, like, there's a reason. I mean, there are reasons to do all these things that you're saying are specifically due to racism or transphobia, or there are reasons for these things. I mean, there's not. I mean, just because you got to look at like more than one. You got to look at more than one point of view. So, like, let's get back to Antifa. The there's no okay. So they're the alt right will only hit those people. Like that one dude. I mean, he was probably going to do something crazy anyway, but the amping up of all these Antifa people, this crazy person probably thought he was doing a good thing in his brain, right?
Which crazy person?
The crazy person who hit that person with the car.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
That nutbag probably thought that he was like.
I don't think he was crazy though. Like he knew full well what he was doing. It wasn't like he was just like out of control. He knew, he planned it. And if you look at what has been leaked from the far right, they were planning more actions. They were planning to attack and be violent in more ways. But I don't
think they were planning on murdering people.
Well,
I think
they were.
I think that I actually don't even know that specific dude knew he was going to kill someone more than he was just going to hit them with his car. But that person was crazy. But you've got to think that these Antifa people are beating up people who have nothing to do with the Nazis, the far right, the ethno-state people. They're beating up, they're attacking people that are at just free speech rally people that. I mean, that thing that happened in Boston. Did you actually see the people that were having the rally? Did you know there was like 20 of them there and none of them were alt-right? I mean, there was like one alt-right guy there. And then there was like so many Antifa people and then all these left-wing protesters that are just fine with hitting people that they disagree with. And I can't get on. I can't.
It's not just a disagreement though. It's like opposing a proper like far right movement. Like if you say, oh, it's opposing free speech, but it's not. Look at what the fascists stand for, like removing people from society, viewing.
Okay, but like, okay, so these people have no power to do this.
But they do. They
don't.
Trans people from the military. We've already started removing trans protections. Like, can you
don't conflate what Trump is doing and what the government is doing with These people who aren't in power. These
But
people have no power.
can't you see that this? No, but they do, don't they? Because they're
They don't.
influencing Trump. Well, why would like Trump? It doesn't matter if you like, even if Trump was had a completely like in his view legitimate reason. It's like, oh, I'm doing it for our own good. The end result is still the same. The far right are influencing discourse and causing things like defunding of things that
But
help
they're
minorities.
not. Most of these people, like, I go to work and sometimes I try and bring up politics. Most of these people don't even like. Most of the average American people that aren't, they aren't like super connected to what's going on politically. They don't pay attention to these far right people. They see these guys and they're like, oh, fuck those guys. And when you bring it up, you're like, wow, that's disgusting. These guys are retarded, and we're not gonna.
But they say, oh, the Nazis are bad, but then they'll say, oh well, Trump does this, and it's kind of justified. I can entirely see where he's going. They're normalizing far right talking points. They've already done things which the far right wants.
Okay,
Can't you see that? Well,
Okay,
removing trans people, removing immigrants, removing
removing illegal immigrants that have come here.
So what? It doesn't matter.
It does matter, dude. A lot of these illegal immigrants are committing fraud. They're using people's social security numbers, stealing identity.
That's a stereotype, though. Crime.
What I'm saying, they have, in order to get a job here without a green card, you have to have a social security number. You have to like be here as a legal person without a green card. So in order to do that, they specifically either work under the table or they have to steal a social security number. And what happens is they steal, it's identity theft, and that can like ruin someone's credit, can ruin their life. It's all these terrible things. And
what would you do in that situation? If you were in poverty, like just across the border, and you thought, oh, well, a better life potentially, and earning a bit more money and helping my family survive is just over the border, what would you do if you were in that situation?
Apply for a green card.
Do you know how long that takes?
I know it takes a while, but I mean, if it's worth it to you, if you actually want to be here, you're gonna have to do.
But you've got
something.
Kids. No. What would But you, of course, like that's the legal way of doing it. But you've got kids you're feeding now. You've got kids and you've got family who you need money now to survive.
Or you just go to one of those. You go to one of those like one of those touristy places in Mexico, and that's how you make your money. There's
go to one of these touristy places in Mexico. You live in a small village just outside of America. You've got no money. There's no jobs really.
But all those small villages. What are you
going to do? What are you going to do?
You gotta do what you gotta do, man. You can't just you can't break the law and then you can't just go in like you can't just break the law and just
Would you break the law if it meant that your kids would survive?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm not gonna go in and like fucking go to another country just so.
What if, like, look, imagine a scenario. You're in there. Place yourself in their boots. Have empathy. If you knew that there was food and a job and a bit of more comfort, and knowing your kids would survive if you just broke the law by illegally entering America and working under the table by not being registered. If you knew that was what you needed to do to ensure your family's survival, would you do it? Of course you would. Anyone would. Anyone who like has any sort of love for their family is going to break the law in that situation. So for people to say, "Oh, look at these criminals, these immigrants, they're doing this and that," I think it's incredibly like naive and awful to say that they should just be left there. But coming back to like the whole Trump situation, like it is still what white supremacists want, to get rid of anyone who is not the right kind of American.
I mean, you can't conflate wanting illegal to minimize illegal immigration to stop, because if you don't know, you can't conflate that with wanting, everyone who wants that as a white supremacist or some sort of alt-right person. I mean,
of course, but it's one of many things, and they just
they might have it in common, but it's not a valid thing to argue.
It's not the only thing they have in common.
I mean, there's even Democrats, there's far left people that don't want a lot of illegal immigration because all the where do you think what positions and jobs do you think that these poor people that these illegal immigrants are getting? They're
Well,
getting
I
the
mean,
they're getting the positions that the other like minorities, like the poor people in the inner cities, would get.
well,
That's
no,
what
because
they're taking their jobs. They're fighting for jobs with people that shouldn't
why
even
is a
be
job
here.
like? Well, that's not. I don't think that's a fair way of looking at it. People aren't.
It is. I mean,
People shouldn't. I mean, this is all problems that capitalism has caused. People shouldn't be
it's
defined
not
by their
problems that
labor
capitalism
hours.
has caused.
It is, of
But
course. Why do
but
people have to be worth what their labor hours are worth?
because I mean that's a thing that's deemed by society. I mean it's a thing that we
By
all,
capitalism.
huh?
By capitalism. Like our system's outdated. There's more
Well,
people than
yeah,
there are
but
jobs.
it's a thing that we bring up. Like in Seattle, they're like, "Hey, let's have a $15 minimum wage," and over the rest of the country, they're like, "Oh, let's have a $7 and something odd cents minimum wage." Um, but you got to do with what works best where you are. But back to the illegal immigration. The reason why people don't like it, I mean, you have to think about all the poor people that are having to fight for. I mean, and these people, a lot of these people are fighting with the illegal immigrants for jobs, and they're working underneath the table, so they don't even have to be paid the minimum wage. So they don't even have to get paid, whatever an hour, since they're illegal and they're not supposed to be there. They can work for like $5 an hour instead of $7.50, or or 15 as a wage that
Can't
they.
you see then that the workers, either way, should say, "Oh well, no, it's not us. We're just both of us, supposedly illegal immigrants and people who were born here. We're both trying to fight for our survival. We're both trying to make ends meet. Really, we should be focusing on why the system has placed us
Okay, but we're
in
talking
this
about
peril."
something that's already set up. We're
But
talking
well,
about
that's what needs to change, isn't it? They need
that's the reason why
workers.
people don't like illegal immigration, is because, I mean,
Yeah, but
you can
it's a
say
poor reason to, because if
you
they were in
can
the same situation, they would do the exact same thing.
you can argue that you don't like that it's happening, but that's the way it's going to happen. I mean,
That's
also
why.
you can't the more people you bring in to the obviously the more people competing with the jobs, the less the more illegal immigrants you bring in to compete with these stupid jobs that they say that no American is actually going to do. Is, I mean, like, you have a illegal immigrant that comes and picks cabbage or something for like $5 an hour, or something ridiculous, and then, like, if they weren't there, the farmer would have to pay a higher minimum wage for a legal immigrant, like a legal immigrant or a citizen. I mean, it's those two things, they fight each other. Like, you can't, in America, you can't be pro illegal immigration and then want to, like, raise the minimum wage. It's not something that works together, because the more people you have fighting for jobs, the lower the wage is going to be,
Yes,
right?
but this is a problem that is constructed from capitalism's problems. Like, if people realized that no person should be illegal, that given how much money the upper class and the wealthy and the bosses own in America, there's more than enough for people to be paid more and be able to survive. I mean, there shouldn't be a person that is illegal. I think it's disgusting that society deems people illegal just for trying to keep their family alive. Like, workers, regardless of nationality, should realize that
So
they are divided not by nationality, but by
so
their,
here's what I'm asking here.
like, by being. Go
Don't
on,
you
you go
think it
ahead.
would be more productive for the illegal immigrants, instead of trying to come here and just you know trying to get their jobs here? Don't you think it'd be much better if they got more involved in their own government
But
and
why do you
just.
think? Why do you think the West is where immigrants come more often?
What do you mean? Like, well, it's because we're accepting. We accept people. We accept immigrants.
No, no. But why do you think immigrants want to come here instead of staying in their
Well,
own,
we're doing
like,
great
country
because
of
of
their birth?
capitalism.
Are we?
So,
Well, how many? What do you think? How do you think corporations make profit?
uh, how many corporate? How many?
How no? How do you
Repeat
think
that?
corporations make profit?
How do I think corporations make profits? By
Yeah.
selling things that people want.
No, but how do they? What about the value? What about paying their workers? How do you think they make profit that way?
Oh, hold on 1 second. We have to acknowledge someone who's in the
Yeah,
chat.
no, I saw him as well. Yeah.
What's up,
X-Man.
S-Man? We were talking about you at the very beginning of the stream.
God.
Anyway, I'll go back. Ask your question
Yeah,
again. I'm
how
sorry.
do you think? No worries. How do you think? For instance, like a factory of people in I don't know, not South Korea, Thailand, or Indonesia, or Malaysia. Like, how do you think
In
they?
a communist country.
No, but none of those countries are communist. In those
China?
Sorry, China's not communist.
China. I mean, China's like a half. I mean, it's got parts of both, but
it's not though, is it? Because like the workers aren't in ownership of means of production. Like the core tenet of communism has been massively ignored, and there's loads of like private sector of market in China too, especially given the amount of corporations that put themselves there. But essentially, capitalism is about labor value and the value of the workers' work being taken off them. So, for instance, 10 people make a car. The car's worth X. The boss takes most of X and then hands back a pitiful amount of X to the workers. The workers did the work, yet the people who profit off it aren't the workers. That's unfair. And that is essentially how the West has got so much money, because they've exploited workers massively. It's
not exploitation,
elsewhere.
man.
Of course it is.
It's not. If they didn't keep some of that money and reinvest it into their business, there wouldn't be a business to have jobs for.
No, but that's not true, though, is it? Because the money's not going to the workers; it's just going to the bosses.
That's not true. That's not true at all. So basically, you've got to have okay. So in order for me to go do a shitty job in a shitty factory, you're going to have to pay me enough money that I'm going to put up with the shitty job.
But that's not the case, is it? Because it's it's either
now listen. I know I know a lady who literally all, and this is in a union factory, so they're slightly different. We don't have unions down here where I live, so she made $30 an hour just putting in a gasket. Now, you know, you would come down here and that person would probably make, you know, $15 an hour putting in a gasket, but in a car. And so up there, the price of living and the union gets them the type of things, you know, that they would want to keep up with their lifestyle. So, I mean, nobody's going to go in there and expect $7 an hour to go work in a factory all day, sweat their butt off. They're gonna the reason why we have like minimum wage type jobs is because, you know, they're easy. They're not particularly hard jobs. They're like things that people don't have to have any specific, they don't have to have any skills to do. And it's
sorry to cut you off. Sorry, but I was actually talking about the rest of the world, where the capitalism why the West is so.
I'm getting there. So the reason why we have all these companies in China, a lot of the times, is because they're jobs that we can't pay people to do here, or they're jobs that, for instance, like the labor union job I was telling you about, where the girl makes $30 an hour to put in a gasket. They had to cut her because they weren't selling enough cars to make up that kind of money. So what they had to do is they've had to export these things to China.
Oh, I know.
The reason why it's cheaper in China is because they've had they had communism forever. So
no, we never had communism though, because the definition of communism is
whatever
ownership.
You want to call China before it got communist, before it got industrialized. And it's starting to get more industrialized. That's why things are not as cheap as they used to be. But China does this thing where they subsidize their exports. They subsidize it majorly. So basically, I can get something shipped from China for like $3.
Exactly. But can you see
what? That's not capitalism. China isn't capitalism. That's not. They've got so much interference with the actual market that
Are the means of production privately owned?
I mean, sort
Yes,
of.
is the answer. Yes, they are.
I mean,
Is
sort of, yeah.
labor capitalized on? Is labor at our labor hours profited on? The answer is a resounding yes. Otherwise, how would it be so cheap to export their things? But what I'm trying to say is that the reason like there's so many like factories and stuff in most parts of the world is because workers don't have any like as much rights as they do in the West. So they don't
And
even have
that's
to pay
not
them.
our fault here. That's
Of
their
course it
fault
is.
there.
No, you can't. No, of course it's our fault.
No, it's not. It's their governments.
Our
Their
corporations,
governments don't want.
are willingly exploiting workers in there, even if they were paying them a proper wage. Like they is still stealing the value of their labor. How is it that a boss who does nothing gets like colossally more than the thousands of workers underneath them?
You really think a boss does nothing?
Well, not as much as the boss couldn't do anything without the workers. The workers don't actually need the boss.
The workers do need the boss.
Why? No, they don't. Workers are capable of self-management.
No, they're not.
Why not?
Not all the time. Some of them are. Not all of them are.
Well, now we're just going into stereotypes. Like workers are capable of managing themselves.
No, trust me. I work in a factory, and they are absolutely not able to manage themselves. If there wasn't a boss around, they would sit there and twiddle their thumbs and do not shit.
Oh, I'm not saying that people who have leadership skills can't sort of like create ideas for people and stuff. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that someone who sits in like an office somewhere, a CEO, just profiting off their workers, that shouldn't be happening. They've done nothing to earn their wealth.
They have.
But no, what have they done?
They've okay. They're all of their stuff, all of what a manager does is they're doing the brain equivalent to what a lot of these workers are doing physically. So, I mean, you've got to have higher brain skills. It's the reason why we don't pay doctors the same as we pay a fucking dude at McDonald's, because that doctor has, he's got experience. He's learned things. He's got.
But you said mental and physical experience were equivalent. So why should then that boss earn so much more? But also, why should the manager earn more?
He's worth more than those people. So, a lot of those people can be replaced. Those people can be replaced. So, like a guy who puts in.
If the boss is worth more than their workers, workers all left, what would happen to that corporation?
Oh yeah, listen though. A factory. I mean, workers are a dime a dozen. You can get a new person and train them. I mean, some people are exceptional. I mean, there are exceptional workers that do their job really well, and a lot of times those people actually climb the ladder and get into management. At least that's how it is where I work. But the idea that like even for instance, like Walmart. I think I don't like Walmart, but I'll use it for this example, and you don't have to. A lot of all the Walmart managers, I think, started as entry level people. I'm like 99% sure that's how it works.
I don't think. I actually think that's the case, though, is it?
Well, I mean, not like the CEOs or anything, but
exactly. The CEOs.
I'm just talking about like store managers. I'm talking like shift leads, store managers.
But do you think that a store manager is paid that much?
Huh?
Do you think a store manager is actually paid that much in a Walmart?
Store managers are paid a lot more than the shift leads and a lot more than.
Yeah, but it's not. It's hardly like the value of what is produced there. It's hardly like the people who work there are the people who man the store. They're not going to be like paid what the store produces, are they? The people who
so even within the workers aren't getting all paid the same rate. So for instance, like I've been at my job for a lot of years now, and there are people that are coming in that aren't going to be making the same as me, because I get I've been getting raises from that initial base pay. So I mean, I'm probably hopefully more valuable than them.
No, but like that's not. I mean, firstly, like money shouldn't be the sole incentive to work, but it is under capitalism because of the way.
Yes, but the reason people have to have motivation to do things. They're not just gonna go and break their back for the same amount that someone who goes in and does little to nothing.
Why is money the only incentive, though?
Because it's a job, dude.
No,
I mean,
under capitalism, you don't sell the labor
the
hours,
things that get
it's
people to
not.
work
So
at
why
a
is
job,
money the only incentive to
it's
get?
technically not. So
It is.
the things
What other
there's
incentive?
money and there's benefits. So the benefits are a place. So if I were to go out looking for jobs and I saw this factory and this factory, factory one has this kind of healthcare and these dental benefits and this great vision benefits, and it makes let's go with 15 starting pay. Whereas company two doesn't have as much of that stuff, but they make 16. Well, I may want to go to the guy who has the better benefits, but with less pay. Or I might just decide, well, I'm not a super sick person. I only really need emergency medical. I want to go to the $16 one.
But that's not quite what I said, though. Like, why is that's not? Yeah, obviously they're sort of incentives, but for people who are working, people who need to pay their rent, money is the only incentive, because if they don't have money, they essentially die off in capitalism. Under better systems, where people have wealth equality, where there isn't such poverty and suffering in society. Well, you can laugh, but look at society.
No, like the poorest people here are way better than some of these other countries who aren't like
why do you think
necessarily capitalist countries. They have like, I mean, you're talking about places that don't have AC. They don't have like the most basic of things that an American or like a British person has. I mean, like even like
yes,
like even in America, like even within first world countries, like the average home size,
people suffer all the time in first world countries.
I'm aware, but we're talking about poor people. Like even like the size of a home here in comparison to the size of a home in like, you know, the UK is like way bigger here, and there's way more land and like all this other crap. So
well, who owns the land though?
The person who's, I mean, okay, so it's the person who is, you know, who bought the house. I mean, there are poor people here that live relatively well. I mean, there are poor people that live in shitholes too. But I mean, when you say poor is relative.
Of course it's relative, but I don't think it's
like over in the chat real quick. Like Stars and Jag says, poor people in the U.S. have a big screen TV and a smartphone.
But because a phone is pretty like crucial, and like not everyone has those things. Not everyone. You can't say that's a massive stereotype to say that poor people are leeching off the state. Look at the people who do that. Look at the amount of people who are hungry in America. You have to go meal to meal.
Okay, so here's the thing about people that are hungry. There's not people that have to starve here in America. There might be people that are hungry, but there are ways of them getting food. It's not to say that like okay, so like if you're gonna say like starving children, that's one thing, but like here there's so many. You can go to like a church. There's welfare programs out the ass,
which are being defunded, and they're not even that good to begin with. Like,
I mean, they're fine. They're fine.
They're fine.
They're like, okay. So if you have I remember a while back. I don't remember the exact amount, but I remember that you could get like something like a mother of, I think it was like 2, could get like $30,000 worth of benefits. If you know, something ridiculous, something like more than you'd have to actually work a decent job to get. If you could get like all these different. There's so many. I mean, you don't even know how many welfare programs we have here. I mean, it's insane.
But it's not insane though. People are really suffering. People have to choose between like being in poor health or losing their home, or eating and not being able to pay their medical bills. Like, if you not see that so many people are like under a poverty line in America, and it's rising too. In my country, for instance, food bank usage is going up. The people under the poverty line is going up. People who are homeless is going up. Like the West yeah, fine, it's got more money than the rest of the world, but firstly, it's built on the exploitation of the rest of the world, and secondly, it's money that the rich are owning. Poor people are suffering more, and our system, like, it's not only that, it's just destroying the planet too. Like, look, just the amount of environmental destruction that's caused by capitalism is ridiculous. But we need to come back to Antifa entirely. Like,
The 20-minute. All right, yeah. I mean, I just don't. There's no real reason to have Antifa.
That is because I mean,
and there's no. I can't justify beating someone for having different beliefs, even if they're vile. Like people who are big Che Guevara fans, I'd like to punch them in the face because that dude was a racist, and he was like, I mean, that doesn't mean I should be able to do that. That's not a good thing to do. People who have got, like, you know, Lenin and Stalin, you know, big fans of Lenin and Stalin, I'm not gonna go over there and beat the crap out of those people because they just slaughtered all kinds of people, or, you know, whichever South American dictator they're in favor of, or whichever whoever. I mean, there's no justification because their views are gross to me. The idea that you should be able to kill somebody because you want to get to the top and you think that, you know, share that you have to commit violence to just regular people in order to have this little revolution that you want is disgusting. You get what I'm saying? That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to beat someone just because of their ideas, no matter how gross they are.
The ideas of fascism and of white nationalism is already branches of the far right. They explicitly harm minorities and LGBT.
Okay, that's fine. Well, the ones for, like, these other these guys who support these other ones, they harm everyone who isn't poor. No, but and in addition to that, I mean, a lot of those people are racist anyway. I mean, racist and sexist. They didn't like the gays. They didn't like. They wouldn't accept.
You can't say that because, like, Che Guevara, Lenin, and Stalin, like, called themselves socialist, that Antifa are then, like, stained by that. Whereas the far right, they are an active present threat. They have someone in office who is, like, essentially acting in their interests. I don't think you can say, like, that the far right aren't this big deal when literally already, they are. Not. So what if you're a trans person and you've already seen that your rights are being sort of eroded and you've already been banned from the military?
Okay, get off the trans thing because that has nothing to do with the far right.
Of course it is. The far right. Have you seen how, like, trans people are just, like, viewed?
Well, okay, yeah, but it has nothing to do with the legislation.
Antifa represent the protection of those people. By opposing fascism, that's exactly what they're doing. And I think we should all be behind them, because if we don't, then the far right will only grow further.
I just can't. It's just not justified. Let's go to the chat. Let's see if any of them have anything they actually want to ask.
They've been moaning about me the whole time.
I bet. All right, give me someone who's in favor of Owen's argument. Someone give me a question.
Doubt anyone who's in favor of my argument is here.
There's got to be somebody.
A few minutes ago there was, or a while back there was, but it's mainly just...
I know, Staggers and Jay scared him away. Artemis Brain Sample scared him away.
Such an echo chamber.
I know. Well, I don't have very many subscribers, so I mean, and I was like,
I was joking anyway.
I wanted you to get as many of your friends and followers and fans and stuff as in here as possible, so maybe they could weigh in on some of this, because
I guess
you still haven't. I want you to try and change my mind here.
Well, Rev Junior says, if Antifa are against fascism, why do they always argue for violent oppression of the other? Well, fascism isn't just violent oppression. Fascism is inherently capitalism. Fascism is ultra capitalism, like really massive capitalism.
Not capitalism.
Of course it is.
No, it isn't.
is by definition is fascism.
Fascism involves the government taking over parts of the economy, and we don't want that.
It's authoritarian.
That's not capitalism.
It is.
Capitalism
fascism is very much private ownership of means of production. The government has power.
Fascism is not a part. Capitalism is not a part of fascism.
It's inherently tied to fascism. Capitalism and fascism are related. Fascism is capitalism.
Okay, all right, we'll say that capitalism is. I mean, fascism is part capitalism and part socialism, and
it's not at all socialism.
But it is.
Aren't related at all. By definition, it's not though. So,
all right,
you can laugh if you want, but it's fact that it's not. Fascism is capitalism, just in decay.
Well, okay. Does anybody know what fascism is? All right, somebody. Give somebody in the chat. Give me your best definition of fascism. Check.
Yeah, I've read that. Nazi Germany wasn't socialist. Like, if you just
see, here's the thing: is there? Let me ask you this, since we're kind of on a different thing here. Is there any example of socialism that you would accept?
Well, not really. There's not. I mean, socialism is essentially.
So there's no point in arguing it, is there?
Sorry?
So there's no point in really arguing it, is there? I mean, if you can't point to a place that's had the socialism that you're talking about,
small communes and stuff. There have been communes in, for instance, in Paris and in Catalonia where socialism was doing all right, but then obviously because workers have to be suppressed, the forces of capitalism will go and suppress it.
Or maybe it's because people have their own self-interests and
no, because it was for instance in Catalonia, it was Franco who went to essentially use his army to crush Catalonia, which is why Catalonia is part of Spain now, and it's also why Catalonians overwhelmingly want to be an independent nation. But the entire point of socialism really is to sort of have international socialism and abolish the state as a concept and have just a general worker-owned world.
But okay, but if it's all worker-owned, then there's really no reason to outperform the other guy. There's no competition. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you can't in order for economies to grow, you need competition. You need one guy wants a house. Well, one guy wants a bigger house, so he's gonna work harder to get that bigger house than the other guy is. I mean, you're not gonna have that kind of shit with the workers controlling everything. I mean, there's certain arguments for co-ops and things like that, but as far as like a nationwide scale, there's no,
not nationwide.
Well, I wasn't even going to give it more of a state thing, but if you want to go international, there's literally I have nothing to do. I have nothing in common with almost nothing in common with anyone in Russia right now. I mean, there's very few things that if we were all under the same kind of system and under the same type of government, there would be no reason. It doesn't hold. It doesn't fit together. You know what I mean?
But can you not see that because of capitalism, we're sort of blinded by the fact that we've always had money as our main sort of service. We always have to sell our labor hours to survive.
Because of capitalism, you have people that went from being went from being farmers to into the factories and into the management and into owning.
But it wasn't though. Capitalism.
If we didn't have this
it was labor hours that produced all the goods. You see, for instance,
I get that it's labor hours, but the labor hours happen. The only reason that they're there working that shitty job is because they get paid. And the only reason the only reason that they're working that shitty job as opposed to another shitty job is because this particular shitty job that they're at pays more than the other shitty job.
The reason
it's the job that they can get.
If they don't, they starve. That's not a good incentive. The incentive to do anything shouldn't be you'll die if you don't. It should be because you enjoy it, and that you and given how
Well, we
physical
do.
labor is on
We're
the way.
adults. We have to do things we don't particularly enjoy.
Well,
It's
unless you're rich and you're a boss, in which case you don't.
well,
Capitalism is an unfair
even the
system.
boss has to do things he doesn't enjoy.
Yeah, like
I mean, he
paying
has
workers. Yeah,
pay.
that's it. Like exactly.
I
It
mean,
is.
obviously, he wants his people to be happy. Happy workers. Happy
No,
workers
that's rubbish.
are good workers.
If he wanted his workers to be happy, he would take a cut from his massive profits and pay his workers properly. But which doesn't happen because I mean, look at
But
my country at the moment.
you split that up. It's almost nothing. It's like a dollar.
Need
Why would
money
you?
for incentives.
Why would you want to split? Okay, you got a CEO making a certain set of he's making 10 grand more than the average worker, but there's fucking 10,000 workers. I mean, you split that evenly. You got
not. I mean, look how much welfare is in the world owned by the top percentile. I believe it's what 8 people control 50% of the world's wealth or something like that. It's like wealth is so colossally in favor of the wealthiest, richest, and people are suffering for no reason. But regardless of whether you like capitalism or not, to be honest, it's on the way down. Like it's collapsing. And that's essentially why we're seeing the rise of the far right, because capitalism's decay is fascism, essentially. I mean, you can laugh, but it's true. Fascism is capitalism in decay. Capitalism's last attempt to protect itself. And fascism is inherently capitalist by definition.
All right. Artemis has got a question in the chat. It says, what is Owen's utopia like? What is the motivation for anyone to produce anything, and how are they compensated? So what makes you want what if it's me and some schlub who is kind of lazy and he's kind of farts around and he doesn't really care about his job because everybody's getting paid the same amount, right? Everybody, how many times I hear everybody's getting paid. well, we get paid by the hour. We're all getting paid the same, so we should all work the same, right?
No, but that's not the exact. Not everyone's not getting the exact same amount. But at the same time, wealth equality is such that people don't have to suffer to work, and people are happier. And you have to bear in mind that people in a better society, people aren't dictated by their labor hours being sold. They have their way in society, and they don't have to sell themselves with this. I mean, if you look at the way the society's going, with automation sort of taking away the need for late workers to actually work on I don't know, docks and factories and stuff, people aren't going to have jobs to work. Therefore, we need a system where people can just exist without having to sell their labor hours to survive. And then people will be happier. Imagine if instead of having to slog away at miserable dead-end jobs, people could indulge in what they were productive in. Suddenly, you'd see things advancing quicker, like technology and stuff, because people who actually wanted to be there and had the chance to be there and had an equal, fair life can be in areas that make them productive.
Okay, well, hold that thought real quick. I'm going to read before he has a cow. Staggers and Jags put fascism is a radical form of authoritarian nationalism characterized by a dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and control of industry and commerce.
Yeah,
control of industry and commerce is
by the private means of production.
And control of industry and commerce is a big part of what you're talking about. So, I mean, that's what it is.
Controlled. All socialism is worker ownership of.
Okay, but here's the problem, and we come back to the same part that if the workers control everything, then they don't get to pick. I mean, it's it's like, how do you expect that to work? I mean, how do you expect that to work everywhere? I mean, it definitely wouldn't work where I'm work. It definitely wouldn't work in a car factory.
But why not? Well, I mean, car factories are going to pretty automated already. So it's not like
listen though. So like a person who basically, not everybody is smart enough to to delegate what they need to get paid. I mean, to just decide what they get paid. I mean, they're not. It's hard to worker ownership is a nice way to say government ownership.
Like, it's just,
I mean, so you're asking people who are, who just have experience being a worker. Like if you just made all of if you just made all of the McDonald's workers, for instance, in charge of the McDonald's, and you fired all the bosses, that McDonald's would close in like a week, maybe.
Why?
Because I mean, these people don't know how to run the paycheck. They don't know how to run. They don't know how to run everything. I mean, some of these people started yesterday.
Who said they'd be running stuff? They're not the only workers within the whole thing. Obviously, you still have people.
But there would have to be a hierarchy.
No,
right?
It's not a hierarchy. All it is someone who is capable of like assigning people roles and stuff. But the only thing that changes is that they're not suddenly profiting off the labor hours of others. There are still people who sort of like have better management roles and stuff, and there's still like people who can say, "Oh, this is the right idea." But the difference is the workers do it cooperatively and stuff, and there's still like votes and stuff, and like actual democracy, like Soviets.
Well, they have labor unions.
Yeah, and have you seen union rights in like the US? It's atrocious.
Well, the problem is that they've overstepped their bounds.
They've barely even had bounds to begin with. Hence why so many workers.
Well, the reason why cars are so expensive is because those people, like my friend, who is making $30 an hour to put in a gasket, which is something that anybody could pretty much do after a few hours of training. Excuse me. Almost anybody could do that. You know how much cheaper that those cars would be if we didn't have this, what you're saying, the worker, more or less the worker controlled type of, the worker controlled type of means of production. I mean, it's I mean, you're talking, what does a car cost now? Like what's a good car? I mean, you're in the $20-something thousand. I don't know how many pounds that is, but
well, exactly. Doesn't that reveal something about capitalism, though? But because of the way the poor and workers are treated, things that are supposedly basic, like cars, are out of price for so many people. Like in my country, the UK, 14% of people don't have the internet, and like you think, oh yeah, everyone has the internet. It's just the thing everyone has. Like, but then all of a sudden, like, no, actually, loads of people don't actually have access to one of the most basic things.
But do you not have libraries?
Well, but no, actually, they get shut down because of conservative policy and austerity.
Okay, well, you don't have libraries and coffee shops with free Wi-Fi, and
how are you going to have time for that if you're working a like 24/7 job basically to survive?
Well, no one's working a 24/7 job.
No, okay, oh yeah,
not in a capitalist society, man.
No, I meant like a job that's really demanding and you're drained from it, and poverty is quite stressing.
Okay, so you go after you get off your job and you go and
you've not got time because you need to eat and you've got no money. And you're exhausted because you're working.
Well, if you've been working all day, then you have money.
No, but you can't spend the money because it's all gone to your rent or your food. Can you not see that capitalism, like, causes workers to be like live miserable, dire lives and have their bosses exploiting their money off them?
Yeah, but that's not. It's not capitalism.
It's
not.
It is capitalism. It's explicitly capitalism. Oh, but I feel like we've sort of just lost Antifa completely at this point.
Yeah, we're let's see.
Maybe we have to have another stream another time about capitalism or something, because then we can actually focus on it fully instead of having to like drag ourselves back to Antifa every second.
Okay, well, you still haven't convinced. You haven't given me a convincing argument of why they need to be here.
Well, you don't even seem to think the far right pose a threat or anything, so I don't really know where they're coming from.
Right, that's the reason that I don't think that they're needed. If there was a bunch of Nazis gaining political power and these people that are like just I mean, there's and also and Sagerson Jags puts something in the chat that said communism is the worst kind of worker exploitation, which he's right.
But it's not though, is it? Because there's no like you what example is this coming from? You're probably going to point to like the USSR, which like wasn't communist at all, because the workers had no.
Okay, but you can't just say that no place is communist. You can't keep saying that no place is socialist. Okay, U.S. is not completely free market. It's not completely capitalist society. I mean, it's
Yes,
it's
but
got little dabs of
it's
socialism in it. That doesn't
overwhelming.
mean
No,
that
it's not got
because a
socialism.
socialist country doesn't have dabs of capitalism in it. That doesn't
No,
mean
no, but you're missing like capitalism. The basic tenets of capitalism: what free market, private ownership of means of production, the the profiting of labor hours. All those things are met easily in America. The core tenet of socialism is worker ownership of the means of production and controlling society. Worker ownership, everyone has a say. That wasn't met at all in the USSR because the state owned everything. The state owned everything, and the state profited through this. Therefore, the USSR cannot be described as communist. Like it's not. This is basic like research.
communist or socialist.
Well, the two are like pretty much like socialism was a stage before communism. So, but there was neither. Worker ownership of means of production wasn't achieved at all in Soviet Russia. So,
well, I mean, it's more of everyone being created, equal by force is kind of what socialism is doing. Howard.
Staggers and Jags, how rich are Owen's parents? Why does that even matter? Why is that? How does that affect my argument at all?
Hey, real quick, we're gonna take a kind of a breather from the actual argument for a minute. I just want to ask you a couple of things. What part of UK are you from?
I'm from southwest England actually, but I go to university in Manchester.
Okay. I was trying to decipher your accent and because I'm trying to learn where the accents are from.
Yeah, I've got quite a neutral accent. So
okay. Can you? I bet you probably couldn't even tell what part of the country I'm from without me actually telling you.
No, probably not. I mean, America is like it's sort of a place where if you're not like local there, then you just sort of you got stereotypical like Southern drawl, and then like just stereotypical like New Jersey girl, and then standard. But I guess I'm gonna say what was it? Well, you said you were Eastern time, didn't you? Your time zone.
Central.
Central. Okay, so I'm going to guess Utah.
Utah is not where I'm from, not even close.
Oh no. Okay, so you're north then?
North. Actually, I'm not.
Oh, so you're from the I'm trying to do my American geography is not the best.
It's okay. You'll never get it because
Wyoming.
I am not. I'm not actually. I'm not from any of the. I'm not there either. I'm actually in the South. I just don't have a strong accent. I don't have a real Southern draw, and I'm from a place where lots of people have Southern draws. So
Oregon.
No.
Not Texas.
No.
Oh gosh, Central. New Mexico.
It's central time zone, not central United States.
Okay, yeah. Arizona.
I'm not.
I'm forgetting to say. I'm going.
It's okay. I'm from
Tennessee. Give me the the starting letter.
I'm from Tennessee. I'll just save you the time.
Oh, I got it eventually.
Yeah, 40 something states later.
I love geography. Just can't. The American states I'm not brilliant at. I mean, I know all of them. I just couldn't place like the middle ones on the map. Like, I know which one's roughly where, but
okay.
Do you know any UK counties?
I honestly I don't. I'm trying. I've got starting to know people from the UK. So I just kind of, and I watch the BBC and just kind of.
What about UK cities?
Oh, I mean, I know Manchester, and I know Cardiff, and I know I just know the basic ones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it's like the your whole like the I think you're in like all of England could probably fit in my state. So
probably no way.
So I mean we've got accents. The cool thing about America is we've got so many accents that even like within the state there's probably 3 different types of accents for my state. And then
of course that's the same everywhere really. Like dialect is such a interesting topic. I mean I did English for my A levels, so it's like really interesting topic in my opinion. But sorry to interject, but it is nearly 2 o'clock at night here, and I am exhausted. So I'm
right,
going to
man.
depart in a second.
Well, we didn't really get anywhere, but that was that was something.
Interesting.
That was interesting. Maybe another time we'll think of a different topic, something that we can agree on definitions, and since we can't even seem to agree on socialism and communism and whatnot. So
sure.
All right. Well, have a good night. I think I'm going to stay on and maybe invite some people into the stream. Sure. All right.
Okay then. Thanks everyone for listening. And you too.
All right. Bye bye. All right, chat. Anybody want to talk? Anybody? Oh, here's my costume. Thanks, man. Anybody want in? Tell me how I did. Armpit revolution. I don't even care if you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, actually, I'd like you in more. Anybody? All right. I guess I hate to do it, but since there's not that many of you, I guess I can probably toss it in the chat. Let's see if we can do this real quickly. Schwab. Bajam. Sploosh. There you go, guys. It's in the chat. Yeah, that really didn't get anywhere. I've been trying. That was really frustrating. I mean, I can't get why someone would sit there and want to justify beating the crap out of people. Like, even he knows, he's got to know that it's not just, it's not just the far right that they're beating up. I mean, he knows that, right? I mean, am I just crazy? What's up, S-Man?
Not much. I just saw the stream from Twitter. I commented something in the chat, and Owen had a silly British giggle, and I heard you mention my name, and apparently you guys said something about yours truly at the beginning. I don't know. What's going on with you?
I'm good. We brought you up because we mentioned that you were arguing and trying to debate Owen on Twitter. We were trying to get a little friendly conversation going.
Is this thing on?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
So that's basically
it. I'll admit I'm probably not the best one to argue for capitalism, but I'm not convinced that socialism or communism is the way to go. He constantly brings up the economic recession of 2008, even though we pulled ourselves out of that. And I don't think it's going to be too much to say. I don't think it's a stretch to say we could probably, if we had another one that we couldn't pull ourselves. I think we could pull ourselves out of it.
I really wanted Owen to answer my question.
Well, I'm sorry. What was your question?
It was if I'm working on a factory line, I'm putting in hour after hour. I'm doing my job, meeting my quotas, and I'm still getting paid $15 an hour. But next to me, there's Frank. He'll pick his nose, he'll fall asleep, and he doesn't do anything, but he's still getting paid as much as me. Why should I have to work as hard as Frank?
That's what I kept trying to get that out of him, and that just didn't. It just didn't do anything. I'm like, come on, say it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Also,
Yeah. One topic I guess I disagree with Owen on more than capitalism versus socialism is capital punishment instead.
Yeah, I mean, I kept trying to bring it back to Antifa, and I don't think... I'm like, this is... I'm literally beating a dead horse here.
He did not like Antifa at all.
That was fucking silly.
That was really silly.
I have an idea. Let me say my idea. Okay. You know how shitlords would like Nazi post, like prime example is Count Dankula, the Nazi book thing, and now all of a sudden there's all this Nazi awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should switch over to commie posting, like take the shit out of the commies for a little while.
Commie awareness.
Yeah, I was trying. There's gonna be people in the streets punching commies.
I love
Which
that.
The inner very right wing person in me wants to go.
Oh, wait a minute, though. If they're commies, do we have to punch all of them equally?
No, don't
Yes.
punch anybody. Then we'd be on here having the exact opposite argument. With
I know.
Nazi.
That's why I'm like, well, I kind of want to punch a commie, but I'm not gonna punch a commie.
No. But wouldn't it be cool at this time in this timeline right now, today or like tomorrow, to see a commie just get punched?
You are kind of roboting there for a second, Jags. So you might want to refresh or something.
So how's everyone doing tonight?
We're pretty good. Pretty good. I've been having to take care of.
I think I just developed herpes.
Just got.
I got cancer on my I got tumors on my back from listening to Owen White Knight for Antifa, or in his case, Black Knighting. Keep in mind that's a joke.
Yeah, I get it.
I'll be honest. I have a little bit of. I have some respect for Owen, in his willingness to defend his position. I always respect that.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to just have these kind of conversations with anybody. So if anybody knows anybody who's willing to have these kind of conversations, then I'm more than, I want to talk to people. I mean, that's why I got my channel. I wanted to be kind of a streaming channel to begin with, to just kind of do these kind of debate things. And, I don't really have the time to make proper videos. Like response videos that, are flashy and cool. Just yet. I don't have that kind of time with my work schedule because I work like a job and a half in addition to trying to set stuff up. So
yeah, I got a question for you. Wait, are you following me or Owen? Because I'm just curious as how you found the whole Twitter argument going.
I think I'm following Owen. I follow. I don't know your Twitter. I tried to find it earlier. That's why we were sitting there. I was sitting here typing in. I'm like, I don't know what his actual Twitter is.
Yeah, it's the same as my actual thing, my actual YouTube thing. It's just remove the dash and you'll find it. I personally don't use Twitter as much as he does. Like, he obsessively bashes on capitalism, yet what provides him the stuff he would use to bash on capitalism is, well...
Right. You have to smash the patriarchy by becoming a man. That's how it works. I mean, come on. That's why trans is so popular. Because if you want to smash the patriarchy, you have to infiltrate them. And capitalism is the same way. If you want to smash capitalism, you have to go and spend all the money to show them how much you hate spending money.
It was right in front of the dude's face. He talked about the cases of what he would call socialism that actually worked. And every case he was talking about were small groups.
Well, not just that, he's talking about
couldn't work in a wider...
Hold on, let's stagger some Jack stop.
The reason it works in small groups is because all those people in that group have that in their heart. You cannot legislate desires on your neighbor. You can't make your neighbor not care about money. You know what I mean?
That was my biggest problem. Like, how are you going to force these people to do? I mean, I've got a hard enough time trying to get people to do their. I mean, the people that I work with don't even like try as hard as I do, and I probably try a little too hard. But I mean, and like he just expects them to all get kind of. I don't know if he expects them to get paid the same, or what he thinks that. I'm just laughing at you, Artemis.
I'm ripping my fucking hair out, dude.
Sorry.
Just realized
I'm so ADD. It's wrong with it. Like during the chat, right?
You need to borrow this thing.
Like during the chat, I'm sitting here trying to focus on the argument, and like you guys are just throwing up ridiculous things in the chat, and I'm just like, oh god damn it, I can't pay attention to chat.
I feel like you're more appropriate, and maybe I should throw some of these on because that shit got really fucking weird.
Quick question.
I'm not laughing at your hair. Okay. I'm laughing at you pulling your hair while you're fucking in the chat.
Okay. Go ahead, S-Man. I'll try not to laugh. Or whoever said it.
What were you guys talking about immigration for? Because like you guys are talking about immigration. I just put immigration. Illegal immigrants deserve immediate deportation.
Well, it's because he was talking about the far right, and he thinks that that is a far right thing. Like, that's not a far right thing. That's something that the left and the right can kind of. I mean, a lot of centrist left wingers can be like, yeah, we don't want these people here because they do take
broke the law.
I mean, whether you want to go with the South Park, they took our jobs, or whatever. I mean, these shitty jobs, they wouldn't pay so shitty if there weren't illegal immigrants coming in here to do them. I mean,
yeah,
if there were
that's
people,
that thing.
Well, there's a lot of food rotting because they aren't here, but that's
yeah.
among the prices we're gonna fucking pay.
Yeah, I mean, eventually the farmer's gonna be like,
And that's what we
I have
fucking
the
do.
empathy. I have the empathy for what he was saying for the families that want to come to a better place.
I
I'm
get
proud
it,
of the
yeah, I get
country I live in, and I get that they want to come and be here.
Right.
You know, but it is illegal, so they have to expect. Like, why are they surprised that they're getting deported? It's illegal.
It's like the argument I was making the other day. Okay, a lot of the illegal immigrants are here because their visa expired, for example. Like, not all of them just jumped the border. The majority of them came here on legitimate visas, let's say, for the sake of argument. But then the visas expire and they don't get them redone or they don't leave. So the argument I brought up was like, well, you know, what if I do the same thing with my driver's license? Just next year I decide I'm not going to renew it and I just keep driving.
no.
Does that make me a criminal? Does it make it illegal? Or am I just an undocumented driver? Also, speaking of communism,
I think you're all three, but that was great.
Well done, sir. Good form. Good form.
Good one. Good one. I'll make sure to remember that one next time.
But anyway, while I was thinking about
it was
that,
so hard to keep up with his arguments because he'd go into one thing to another. I'm like, hold on.
I put a comment in there that said he's a master deflector. You got to hold him to the question at hand.
And I'm just like, hold on, because he hit on so many things, and I'm just like, I'm trying to.
He's just like he's an apologist. He'll switch the fucking subject.
And I'm so ADD that it's really easy to get me off topic.
The hell did he even say?
The thing that ticked me off the most about him was he was denying that Nazi Germany was socialist.
Because they didn't own it. Because it's not true socialism in his eyes, and ain't that a no true Scotsman to go with that?
No true socialist.
Every fucking thing he said was a no true Scotsman fallacy.
It's no true Stalin. Come on.
They weren't really communists. They weren't really socialists. But
right.
But capitalism.
Well, if he doesn't, my whole point is he doesn't have. If he doesn't actually have a where did Artemis go? If he doesn't actually have an example of what he wants, then like it's not. I mean, if he doesn't exactly have an example of what he wants, and he's like, well, it's never worked. I mean, it's never been, accomplished. Then I mean, what am I supposed to? What are we arguing with? I mean, I can't argue with fucking unicorns.
That's what Artie kept asking in the chat too. Is what's the deal?
Who was the other person that was in the chat that's arguing with you guys? I didn't actually see what they were arguing. I really wanted as many of his friends to be in the chat because I wanted to take fucking questions from them because I
went the exact opposite way you thought it was going to.
Yeah. We ran that guy off.
There was a reasonably good crowd, and it was all guys on your side.
I was like, I really want him to invite all of his people because it's not fair.
I from the first 5 minutes, I was already tired of him saying, I think this is true. I believe this is the case. But isn't it true that this? And then when he starts labeling people, he's got real fucking specific goddamn labels that he throws at people. Like suddenly these things that he had concerns about that may or may not be absolutely true, that shit's out the window. No, I got a label for your ass, and you're not going to like it.
Right. Well, that's the basic way it works.
Like, we started arguing about the transgenders in the military, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with the alt-right. It has nothing.
He's trying to, honestly, some of the things he talks about, I don't want to be one of those people that says he's virtue signaling, but sometimes I'm like, do you actually even give a shit about the topic at hand? And honestly, it's ridiculous where he'll there's a reason that the president went down that path. Now, I don't think it should not have been announced over Twitter. I think the president shouldn't have access to his Twitter when he is inaugurated. For instance,
Well, I
Obama
mean,
wasn't allowed to have a BlackBerry.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, like
guess.
for instance, when Obama was president, I don't think they allowed him to have a BlackBerry because they couldn't secure it. And I think, especially with what Trump does on Twitter, it's ridiculous. You know?
Well, they did.
But
Go ahead,
Rev.
Rev.
The same argument about radio when it was new too. That the president shouldn't just be addressing people over this radio thing and saying whatever he wants and all that. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, when you say they didn't let Obama have his BlackBerry, do you really think they fucking took it from him, or do you think they were like, "Sir, we don't think it's a very good idea if you have the BlackBerry"? And he's like, "You know what? You're probably right. Here you go."
I mean, they could have done either, honestly.
I'm gonna have a BlackBerry if you want me to, or you don't.
I did not have relations with that.
You can frankly go fuck yourself.
I'm not. Yeah, I can't do it.
That was my first argument to Glack. Was that person aware that Antifa was a thing when they were burning buildings and burning trash in the street after Obama was elected the second time?
Well, it was like,
yes, you were. So what was
I remember back
again?
Like these far right guys. I mean, they didn't exist. I mean, they didn't really start to like get out there and do stuff until like after the Antifa people were already fucking shit up for like months.
For years.
I will admit, I don't think there's anything about America's current leadership that necessarily created more assholes. What he did allow the assholes to do was to admit publicly that they're assholes.
And I am totally down for that.
And that's all we're suffering through is people publicly being fucking assholes. And that's fine because it opens every fucking one of them up to be judged and condemned by the people that they're exposing their ideas to. And that's the whole fucking point of having the First Amendment. As soon as you start shutting those people up, they go grab pitchforks and tiki torches, throw on their khakis, and go to some fucking southern state to protest some bullshit they don't think about.
They forgot the creased white polos.
Yeah.
The other problem is you're also encountering one of the first generations that is discovering politics with this much access to the social media.
Yeah, it's
amazing the amount of posts you see where people do not realize, like, this is just how politics works. And we've lived through 4 or 8 presidents worth of it.
Yeah.
And it's really cute to notice people notice it now. People seem to have forgotten that Bush was a dumbass, too.
Yeah, I love it when people on Twitter accuse me of being
quick.
Well, a lot of
people
them
have forgotten what happened
cognizant.
to Obama.
It's been
It's like that old meme where Simpsons did it. And then you have to go and tell people the other presidents did it.
Why am I buzzing? Hold on one second.
Buzzing like hell. You got too close to a light, probably.
No, my little jack came out of my mic. No, I think I guess Rev. You're Rev Junior. Who is watching the stream? Is anybody watching the stream? Damn it!
Oh, I might still have it. I have it. No,
yeah, I think I still
anyway, no. So like, the thing about Owen is he seems to be a lot of people when they first get into politics, they're like, well, this makes sense to me. Why isn't everybody like this? Why? So they go to the extreme. They're like, well, I really think that everybody should be this way, and I think everything should work this way. And I know when I was first getting into politics, I mean, it's kind of like a thing where the more that you're into it, the more you kind of flesh out things that don't work, and your positions. Like when you first get in, it's kind of like I don't know, it's hard to explain.
No, because you have people that have been there for 30 years that still think the same way they did 30 years ago and won't change their opinions either.
Well, yeah,
it's not just new people. It's everything.
Right. But socialists they tend to be like this. They're like, well, it's just never been implemented correctly. It's never been.
Maybe there's a reason for it.
With
their
the gun rights
in the right place. Their heart's in the right place. That's what I'll say. They got a good heart, and they're young and dumb.
Yeah, I think he just needs to think about. He needs to think about I mean, look at things from a different perspective. But he's just has this little socialist lens that he sees everything through.
He has a group of people that he trusts, and if it doesn't come from them or it doesn't agree with what comes from them, then it's probably wrong, and he's not going to consider it. And that was fairly clear from the way he dealt with the open questions that you asked. Very direct but open questions. Okay, so like mine, for instance, was, okay, here's your chance to tell us what your fucking utopia is. What is it? Blah, blah, blah. Three words into it, he's off on another fucking thing because he has no idea. He just knows what's wrong, so he's gonna grab some cheese and pour himself a big glass of
grab the cheese.
Go for it, whatever your name is. Sorry.
All right. I've seen his channel with some of his videos, and yeah, they're pretty anti-capitalist. And one video that I found irredeemably stupid was he tries to pin capitalism as somehow causing harm to video games. What would you guys think about that?
Capitalism.
How are you gonna have any video games without capitalism?
I don't.
Tetris.
That doesn't even make sense.
That doesn't.
Tetris sucks.
Play.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
It's the most popular video game ever because it's free.
Tetris is boring.
It's so bourgeois.
But then again, you've got to remember that we aren't in a scarcity economy anymore like we were 30 years ago. We're basically post-scarcity. We don't have to build our currency on anything. I mean, we don't have to base it on that. From that standpoint, socialism is going to have to be involved more heavily in the future. Like, more and more people do not have jobs because of automation. And there's no way to replace those jobs without giving them some other kind of job that's in a luxury industry.
Yeah, well, like the things that get replaced with automation is like, there's less there's less tellers, and now there's more ATMs, but now there's also people to take care of the ATMs because the ATMs exist.
Right, but you don't make one new worker
you have
for everyone.
One guy work on 16 ATMs that work 24/7. That's not the same kind of labor economy.
Well, but with everything, there's always going to be a new job opening up. There's not.
There are never going to be as many jobs open up to replace the ones that were lost in the first place.
Eventually.
No,
but we're not there yet.
Technologies.
We're in a service economy.
So wait a minute. Let's look at a very simple example of this. How many telephone operators are there today, and how many people use telephones? If you replaced all the people who used to be operators, where did you put them? Now that everybody has a cell phone, there should still be.
Well, they don't have to stay in the same industry. I mean, they can go to a different industry.
There are fewer operators.
Right.
That's every industry, though.
Well, it's not
is
even
reducing
fewer.
the number of employees.
The whole entire point of automation is to reduce the number of employees.
Right. So, but at this point, like, so we got like 3D printers and people who we got print shops. We got all these different new as everything keeps going. There's new industries. There's shit that we got YouTubers now that sometimes make money. And then we got you didn't have that,
That's like pro sports though. There didn't used to be pro sports, and now there are some people that make a fuck ton of money at it.
Yeah, and so like each time something dies, I think that there's usually, as far as now, anyways, that there's usually some sort of thing to take its place. But you gotta kind of like get into. I mean, you gotta diversify yourself. You can't if you're not learning.
All that does is make you available for another job. And if everybody that lost their job does that thing, and they all look to get an education in something else, now you're in competition with those people that you used to work with for whatever job you're applying for. There are never going to be as many new jobs as there were jobs that got eliminated. It just,
maybe.
As a percentage of GDP, anyway.
Well, yeah.
But as it relates to
there's
the population.
just new ways.
You get other things, so like more entrepreneurs, more people going into small business owning. You'll have more construction happening.
There's people that 3D print shit for a living.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, but there aren't as many blacksmiths either, and we don't have guys that get paid to clean up shit in the street.
A simpler example, if I may, is computing. Everybody has a computer in their pocket,
but there are
fewer computer shops opening up.
Right, but there's also, I mean, there a while ago there was like nobody who could work on computers, but now there's people who know how to work on computers, build computers.
Right.
Now,
I mean,
I can go
and
to
programmers.
I can go to the
builders.
grocery store and not have to talk to a human being. Do you know how important that is?
That's fantastic. I love capitalism. I
Yeah.
love it.
All right, I'm gonna head out. See you guys later.
Oh, sorry.
Take care, man.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Nice
you
meeting
being in
you
the chat
guys.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Follow me on
yeah,
Twitter,
you too.
subscribe, etc.
Yeah, so I'll follow you guys on Twitter. See you next time.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Peace. Word.
All right. Anyway, sorry, I cut somebody off. I don't know who it was.
So, see the means of production. That's what I'm going to start tweeting. I'm making some memes. Let's
Some
make
memes of production.
Yeah.
Calm down, Anthony.
Some
I think
dang
I'm
memes of
already a
production.
meme.
You got
I
the
think I've
meme.
already seen
There's
somebody
probably somebody
do
who
that.
makes a whole lot of money off of making memes somewhere. We just
Anthony
haven't tapped into that
Fantano.
market yet.
There's got to be a professional memeologist somewhere.
There's got to be there's got to be somebody here who's going to be
Well,
studying memes at some
there's-
point, and a meme historian is going to be.
There's
That's what I keep
ones
telling you
that
guys.
ones that work for the FBI and the CIA and stuff, but I think when they say meme, they mean it in the more.
No, they're
General
literally
sense.
talking about internet memes. I'm pretty sure.
No, they're talking about Do you know what the definition of a meme is?
Yeah, I know
right?
I know what that kind of meme is. But they
It's
literally,
not-
I think they.
it's not a different kind. When you talk about a meme on the internet, you're talking about a subset of the actual meme. It's called that because it's just an idea that transfers and changes
Right.
from
But
person
they do
to person
study
and
actual
stuff.
memes, like.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure that's part of it, but more of it is like
But that's what-
social ideas and stuff that
Yeah.
go around.
Yeah, like I was saying, that every time that some stupid, something new comes and takes somebody's job, there's also like a few more jobs created. There's a few more.
No, not exactly. Again, as we're saying, just again, to use any example you want, a few industries have been created in the absence of the jobs that have been lost.
But they're never.
But you haven't subsidized all the jobs that have been lost.
Well, of course, it takes a minute to recreate what you've lost.
Well, no,
Here's
we're
the
Right.
side.
As those minutes go on, more people come into the workforce. I think they're actually making a pretty good point.
Like,
I just
Well, no,
support
you don't get
automation
that
and
many people from
capitalism.
it, though.
the additional point to be made is that
I'm
we're now
agreeing with you, man.
living in a service economy. We are not a production economy anymore,
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
as far as labor is concerned. And what we don't do or haven't done anyway is to react to that reality in a way that makes service jobs commensurate. As there aren't a lot of one income service jobs that are putting two kids through college and buying houses, whereas there
Right.
used to be lots of factory jobs that did that. Used to be
Right.
hundreds of thousands of those factory jobs, and those are virtually all of them gone. And for anybody to be able to have a service industry job, unless you're an accountant or something like that, to have a single income and put two kids through school, even fucking not
Right.
preschool, but pre-college,
There was a time when you could do that
High
in any
school?
given fast
Yeah,
food
well,
place, right?
pre-secondary school. What is that? Primary school. There we go. I knew there was a word for it.
yeah, I was just
And
saying.
horse, of all people, you should not be giving anybody shit for stammering.
Oh my god, I couldn't help it, man. Like he just kept saying that, and I was just like,
I got completely empathetic because there were moments where even what is
I'm sitting here like trying to wrap my brain around what he's saying and then also read at the same time. And so you guys are like saying funny shit over here, and I'm like, oh god damn it.
I'm a junior in high school, and I put up more. Never mind.
Go
Yeah.
for it. What were you saying?
I was going to try and say I'm better at speaking than you, but that word vomit just happened.
In your
See what
face, Slade.
happens when you try to talk shit and you're just not fully
Yep.
prepared for it.
Then the shit wall hits you.
By the way, I have
gotta
a
be
dog
like
your
me.
age.
You gotta have years of experience talking shit before you can just do it off the top of your head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
takes practice.
I mean, and it's been a while since I've debated anyone, quote unquote, debated. And most of the time, huh?
I don't think I've ever really debated someone as much as I just told them they're an idiot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the best.
that's something a junior in high school does.
I do that like 4
something
videos
I
a week.
do,
What are you
dude.
talking about?
I'm not gonna
I do
call
that.
somebody an idiot.
Hey,
I'm
that guy.
going to make them feel
I-
like an idiot.
in YouTube comments, I call flat earthers idiots all the
Yeah,
time.
there are groups of
Well, they
people
are
and
idiots.
specific people
Speaking
that
of flat
unfortunately have
earthers,
to
that's
call
my
idiots.
next video coming up.
Oh, boy.
Hooray.
That's
I haven't made a video because I'm supposed to be working on a video for Morton, and he sent me this weird drunken conglomeration of clips that I'm supposed to respond to.
He sent me a video of a guy that I will do some portion of a video on, but it's like a 15-minute clip, and I think I came up with about 30 minutes worth of shit out of it.
Is it that Lance guy, or
I don't remember who it was. So it was some dude. It's been a week and a half ago since he sent it to me. I didn't look at it. The guy's an idiot, but he was so fucking stupid that there was nothing to say. It was like, I'm just gonna play that and let people laugh. That's not. I mean, it's kind of my thing, but I like to be involved at least a little bit. Give me a chance to throw a joke in there, man. If you're just gonna be that fucking stupid, I got nothing to say.
like that guy in the chat, Glacky or whatever his name was. I jump in the chat. I say one thing. I make a coherent thought. You know, I type a sentence,
and it seems
and he goes, "Read a book, dude," or so. Like, what did he say to me? Like,
read a book and something else.
Yeah,
what book do you want me to read?
Right?
We never
But
got
it's
that.
a whole lot easier.
We're talking about socialism, and you go read a book. Well, I'm gonna go read Narnia now. It's not.
yeah.
It's a whole lot easier to like, you know, argue in a chat than it is to debate someone for an hour and a half. Actually, longer than that. That was almost 2 hours of just straight up arguing with that dude. Look out, everybody!
He's got a book.
I've got a book here I can read.
I've got my copy of The Men Who Stare at Goats right here handy. If you can make.
I think that.
I've got.
I went in the drawer here in the hotel to see if they had a Bible, but they didn't have a Bible. They had the Communist Manifesto.
You fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I'm fucking kidding you.
You never know. I mean, I don't know.
I've left some pretty random shit in some hotels.
Don't you think I would have fucking mentioned that?
Dude, you're talking to somebody who's been taking care of my poor lady and my dog all day. I have not gotten adequate sleep.
It's fine. I'm giving you shit.
Found a copy of Gerald Ford's How to Hit a Golf Ball.
Found a copy of Mike Golf.
Anyway,
I'm just shit posting.
all right. I gotta find somebody.
Wasn't it on your stream, on your first stream, when Failure hopped on and he was fucking sitting there just reading Mein Kampf?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my first stream.
Wait, is that a legitimate strategy?
Huh?
Just
Go watch Dead Horse's first stream when you get a chance. You'll see as soon as Failure jumps in, you'll see that he's reading a book. He mentions it like 5 minutes later because nobody said anything. I noticed it, but I didn't know what book it was.
I noticed it. I think I said something, but there were so many people in my first stream. I'm just like, how do I talk to all these people?
Here's the book you got to tell Owen to read the next time. It's got a lot of valuable information in it. It doesn't have any text. It's just a ledger.
Oh.
You can show him. Here's where all the numbers go when you do proper capitalism.
Woot.
Tell him to read that fucking book.
I mean,
every time I see a ledger, it makes me want to drink.
well, it's been picking the thing that I wanted to debate with him was kind of difficult because I follow him on Twitter and he blows up my Twitter all the time. So I see 1 million of his tweets and they're all wrong. I mean, just all wrong.
Me.
I mean, and then you'd think so. You think everybody I follow, right? I'm pretty much half and half. Half of people I agree with, half people that disagree with me. And you'd think most of the time that the people that you disagree with are going to have something that somebody you disagree with is going to have something you actually agree with at some point.
Yeah, right. Eventually, you're gonna like a comment that they made some point, right?
Literally, I had what I try and do, just to try and be nice to people. I try and when they say something, when a person I think is dumb or not necessarily dumb, but I disagree with, when they say something that I agree with, sometimes I'll like the comment, sometimes I'll retweet it. I'm kind of that way with Tim Blake. think
possible.
Yeah. He says a lot of things I think are funny or that are just.
He does. He has some spicy memes from time to time. I think the only thing I had to like on Owens was something about he was talking about how great the soundtrack for
Gully.
Neo Genesis
Hey.
Evangelion was.
Are you talking shit, Artie?
Who?
Hey, motherfucker.
Hey, who doesn't love the soundtrack to Fern Gully? Fuck off.
Fern Gully.
No, that's what I'm saying. You better like the soundtrack.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Don't you accuse me of being a commie?
Don't you accuse me?
Evangelion is the best anime. What are you talking about?
There you got me. I have no fucking clue. I don't.
Well,
We're having a different conversation.
what's the
tonight.
fry-
Watched an anime in 1980.
Anime is proof that 2 nukes weren't enough.
Well, I mean, okay.
Hey, Pokemon has been the best capitalist venture to come out of Japan in a very long time.
It's true. It's true. But like he was starting to say that China was capitalist, and I was just like, huh? I mean, it kind of is, but it's definitely not.
His fascination was saying that the workers own it, and like,
How come? I gotta wonder how this dude is such a master deflector. He was able to make you let him. And I don't think
I was
any of us
letting him
noticed.
go.
Hold on. We all basically. I don't think anybody noticed this. He was able to. No true Scotsman. Everything.
I know.
But then nobody like everything else is capitalism.
I know.
Fascism is capitalism.
But
China.
I wasn't originally. I wasn't trying to do a debate. You know, it was just supposed to be a discussion because a debate has like moderators and like talking points and like.
Sometimes you need those for a discussion.
But they were useless.
And a list of facts, and I wasn't going to look up a lot of facts to debate Antifa, of all things.
No, it's hardly fucking necessary.
It's not necessary. And
if this dude grows up a little bit in his brain and does read that ledger book, he's gonna switch right over to being a.
Now wait a minute. You must be fair, okay?
How come I can't say the word? Evangelist.
This
He's
ledger
gonna be
book,
a
okay?
fucking Christian. He's gonna
See
turn
those
into a
words?
Christian evangelist.
See those words? Those
Yeah.
are big words for anti-fascist.
He would make a killer apologist, is all I'm saying, like a Christian apologist. He could just fucking
fast
talk.
He's already an apologist. So, but I mean, he's so
Like,
here's the
literally
thing:
killer.
is he and I didn't even get around to telling him. Is he actually has a decent vocabulary on him, and he knows a lot of big words. So that's the one thing that I was going to specify, that when you get into a kind of discussion debate like I want to have on this channel, I don't want people to talk in such a way that people are going to have to sit there and look up words in order to figure out what's going on.
Oh well, then just fuck.
Because if you actually know what you're talking about, you can talk about it plainly in plain English.
If you're talking about something, you should know how to use the words that are appropriate for it.
Well, yeah, but you want if you're smart people that actually know what they're talking about can break things down into basic English that everyone can understand.
I can. I just don't generally do it. I try to be economical with the number of words, not necessarily the number of syllables.
I want you to talk to me like I'm 5 years old and I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's not exactly, but I mean, you don't have to get retarded about it. I mean, you have to. I mean, you don't have to get like well.
You just got to speak to them like they're a junior in high school.
You know, when stuff happens that but no, I just don't want to get into like, because he's taking political science, and so there's a lot of political science nonsense words that are just big words that have no sophistry. It's just big words that don't really mean anything that you specifically need those big words to mean. It's just,
dude, if I sat here and I explained something to you and I used some big words, you would be able to understand what I meant, because you know what the fucking big words mean. But when it's just all big words, shotgun blast.
Yeah, I don't want word salad.
That's why I said. Yeah, I said political woo, I think was one of my comments I made in the chat. That's all it is. It's just fucking.
Yeah, we don't have to talk like idiots either. We don't have to be like, cavemen.
I studied sociology 20. Let's see, wow, 20.
I mean, fair enough.
There's
When
lots of bullshit words in
Antifa is
sociology too.
talking with
Well,
clubs,
it's gotten a lot
like,
worse
I mean,
since I got my fucking degree. I can tell
I
you
know.
that.
Sorry, go ahead, man. Go ahead, Rev.
I said, you know, when Antifa is talking with clubs, maybe little words is the best idea. But
That's true. And but I couldn't. I was gonna bring up the acts of violence, but if he's sitting there actively justifying the violence, I mean, usually people that would defend. I was thinking usually people that would want to defend Antifa would be like, well, they're not hurting. They're, you know, that's just some of them. You that's what I expected. I expected the apologist kind of, well, they're not all that way, or
He did throw that out there.
so he's
He did?
basically like vegan gains,
Yeah.
is what you're saying, but for Antifa.
what's that?
You,
He's basically like vegan gains for Antifa.
kinda.
Right. I kind of wanted to. I've actually got some really good arguments for against veganism too that I've heard no one say. So
You
I've
guys
got a
have,
few also, but
you guys had talked about the guy that drove into the crowd,
yeah,
and
crazy guy.
and you correctly use it. First of all, that he was crazy, and the guy's like, well, I don't know that he was crazy. I'm like, well, if nothing else, he was at least a fucking sociopath. So yeah, he's at least a little bit fucking
right.
crazy.
And in his brain, those people are all beating people up.
And
right?
then you brought up and it was several minutes later, but you brought up the singular Antifa guy that has been charged with murder, and he's like, well, that's just one guy, and like, well, wait a minute, whoa, stop the fucking press.
Drop the piece.
You just fucking said that was one guy, and then now you're using that as a defense. Right. What? Fuck you! That's when I started.
So he lives. I'm giving him a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt because he's not American. Like, he doesn't know. He's not.
Nonsense. Dr. Randomer Cam is not American either.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Randomer Cam is like, you know,
Stargone.
4 times as smart as Owen, though.
He kept speaking as though he knew what he was talking about when he spoke about the United States.
That's how he tweets. Like, if you follow him on Twitter, this is how he tweets constantly. Like, he knows exactly what he's talking about. And he argues about capitalism, about Antifa, about. I wanted to get Garrett on, but I wanted to get him and Garrett on, and Cog was supposed to come on with me if I had done the Saturday, but then all that bad stuff happened on Saturday. But I wanted to get him to get Garrett on, because Garrett is like a big Antifa supporter, and he's got there's videos of him and the whole get up thing, and he's real rah about it. He's going to go join in and fight the fight.
What fight? The fight they're starting?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Right.
What else could it be?
No,
if there's somebody there to say something that any of them don't agree with, they will show up en masse.
well, I'll give Owen this point, right? So he wasn't calling Trump an actual Nazi, which I've heard from other people.
Well,
and it's also like here in America, we have the neat thing where if a guy pulls a flamethrower on you in a crowd, you shoot him in the foot.
Right.
I mean, that happened.
Well, yeah. Did you see the Young Turks cover that? They didn't even mention the flamethrower guy.
No, I just kind of watched the video and I'm like, why is everybody ignoring the guy that's literally trying to set people on fire? And the other guy turns around and shoots at him. Like,
yeah, that was intense.
In my head.
He fired it at the ground anyway.
Well, but regardless, it could have ricocheted or whatever. Fair enough.
Yeah.
He should have just shot in the leg to not hurt anybody else.
Yeah. But anyway,
like the bullet will stop in leg meat. It won't stop on concrete.
Just walk up to him and shoot him in the balls.
No, it'll go through those when they're that small. I mean, come on.
Hopefully it goes through both of them so that fucker can't produce kids.
Yeah, but
unless they're set up odd, he's only going to hit one.
If there's a god, both balls are gone.
This is a real thing. Like, there's a video I could watch of a guy with a flamethrower. This happened.
Yeah.
Just about getting shot. Yeah, at one of the rallies where the police
you don't see both points of view. So you see there's a video of only the. Well, as far as I know, there's a video of only the guy with the gun and a video with only the guy with the flamethrower, but not with both. But they were both at the same angle. You can't see both of them at the same time.
One of the comments he made that drove me absolutely apeshit was two of them. The first one was that you were talking about how Antifa was largely college students, well-off kids that either didn't have jobs or had time to go play Antifa. And his response to that was, well, you know, the working poor don't have time to go out and do that. So they apparently need the goddamn rich kids to go out and protest for him because the fucking poor can't do it for themselves. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
that's
the fucking point you need to be making here, dickhead.
Here's
Yeah,
the
you're not helping your case at all.
here's the video. Actually, you can plainly see the guy with the flamethrower. I mean, when the other guy, you can see the guy light it up. The other guy says, "Put it out," and then the guy doesn't, and he poof right at the ground, and then the flamethrower goes out.
Pretty okay with that.
You can see it there if you want, I guess.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'll have to check it out later. That shit, and I can't. If I try to go to a news site, it'll fucking shut my whole shit down. I know.
Yeah, I'm not going to load up voice meter just to play one little clip, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll check it out later. My favorite was the guy that kicked the tear gas back towards the cops.
The remix for that is all the remixes. They're so good.
Did you see Magog's video where we're doing the thing for the 5th of November?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. We're doing a thing where we're not posting on YouTube, and instead we're going to post our stuff everywhere else.
Huh.
Just to take the piss out of YouTube. Magog of Moorstar.
And I didn't even. Oh, I know who Magog is, but I specifically tweeted to him to figure out what time his thing was, so I didn't, stream over it, which we end up doing anyway.
Yeah, you started before him.
I started
before him.
I did, and I wanted to end it before he came on. Oh, Lane, thanks, man. I just saw you in a chat. But I didn't want to stream over him because I wanted to get some viewers, and I didn't want to step on. I actually wanted to see it because every Mondays have been the only days I've been able to stream. So Mondays and late nights at Stupid 30.
Ugly 15.
Ugly 15. What?
Instead of Stupid 30, Ugly 15.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna try and see if Owen will get his friends to unblock me.
I wouldn't even worry about it. I got Ken Ham to block me. I'm happy.
I still haven't. I haven't tried that hard though.
I didn't either. I just asked him in a couple of videos why Genesis 1 doesn't agree with Genesis 2, and he was like, "I don't want to answer this." I might have said more than that. I don't remember. It's too long. But
when I was a Christian or whatever, a believer, I don't even know if I was a Christian really, but I was a woo-woo guy. But I read the Bible, and I had such cognitive dissonance over Genesis 1 and 2. I came up with these wild fucking explanations for it, man.
Because they don't agree. God created man before the plants, except when he created them afterwards, and then he created them before them and stuck them in them. And then the rains came afterwards, even though they came before. It's wild.
Yeah.
Paula Gia is working on a video. He went and watched the live airing or taping or whatever the fuck performance of the AIG news.
AIG.
And I'm really looking forward to it. He said that he got to talk to, he didn't say who he got to talk to after the show, but he said he got to talk to somebody afterwards. And they're only ever 3, and Ken Ham is almost always one of them, so I'm really looking forward to it. Apparently, Paul manages to get on that show a lot. There's always at least once a month, there's a question here from a Paul, and it's always Paula Gia.
All right. Hey, I gotta go let my dog out. Be right back.
Wait, so what you're saying is Ken blocked me, so I should ask things to his news.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that interested, but maybe I'll drive down there someday and take pictures of his giant fucking boat.
I wish I'd have known Paul.
Oh,
I'd have made more of an effort to.
It's only a few hours from here. I mean.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's a few hours from here too.
Yeah, you're in the other Amish land.
Yeah.
Either to the east or the west.
One
in the middle.
One of these days, I'm gonna pack up a road trip and head east. I can swing by, see you cats and Tinky, and maybe we'll all go see a big boat.
You got to refresh again, brother.
Fuck.
You became a robot again. All right, good. It's off. Hey, it's you and I. We've got run of it.
Yeah, no shit. Fuck the world.
Pretty much.
Let it burn.
That's a nice shirt you got there, by the way.
Yeah, if I think I wear it one more day, it'll stand up by itself.
I like to pretend that Logic stole my hat because I think I probably had mine first, but this is made of felt, I think. This thing is leather.
Yeah. I think if I had to guess, I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say that Logic had told Sofane exactly where he got his hat. I think they got the exact same hats. I know Sofane didn't. I know it wasn't cheap.
You can't see mine, but it's made by a company down in Texas. Yeah, you can't see crap.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's completely worn out, I think. I can barely see the outline of it.
I saw a Stetson like that I almost bought. It was on sale for $120.
That's pretty good.
Down from 330, and I'm like, fuck. But it was a 7.5, and I wear a 7 5/8, and I put it on, and after about a minute, it already started to hurt. I was like, fuck.
I forget what this is. This is like 7.5, maybe, somewhere around there. I don't fucking know. Yeah, mine's it's stretched anyway because it's good leather.
My noggin's on a bit of the large side.
Mine's just funny shaped. I don't know. See, if you keep your hair short, you don't have to worry about pulling it on camera.
Yeah, well, the sides are short, but it's the stuff on top. Oh, dude, I was so irritated. That comment he made about the rich protesting on behalf of the poor, like, so the rich have to do something for them, but there shouldn't be rich.
Yeah, if everybody had all the same money, then nothing would ever get done either. Is another fun way to look at it. Because if you distribute the wealth evenly, let's say we give it all out, every person gets the same amount, or at least all the people who are logically able to spend it well, maybe eliminate children up to a certain age from that. Then suddenly, you know, nobody has more or less than anyone. And that means, how are you going to have like any sort of competition-based economy?
Right.
Yeah, there's
the whole reason an economy and society as a consequence of an economy is because people learn that they could control food for themselves by growing grass and breeding grass into edible food that they could farm.
More or less.
All of a sudden, people like gathered around and hunkered down and grew food, and whoever grew food had.
Part of that was the fact that we created beer and alcohol too. Alcohol is actually what drove the people together because they wanted to figure out how to make more of it before they worried about how to make the food out of it. Actually. Because they knew they could just go out and hunt and gather more food.
Well, that's what the
beer doesn't grow on trees.
Well, actually, wine does, though.
Grows on vines.
Not in big quantities, right?
Peach brandy does.
They think that like we could have evolved our liking for alcohol by like when we were monkeys in the trees and shit, or apes, whatever, upright apes, sometime back when we were still covered in fur, probably before we used tools. And before we used fire, the monkeys were eating rotten fruit on the ground, and they learned that some of it would kill you and some of it wouldn't. You know what I mean? And the stuff that smelled like this was good because it wasn't going to kill you because all the germs were dead because there's poison in it, but the poison won't kill you. It'll just make you feel funny,
and then throw up.
Yeah.
Well, or you just get a better constitution and you don't throw up and you poison yourself. I mean, yeah.
And
natural selection.
They learn how to control that. So yeah, we'll use that as the example. They learn how to control that, and then whoever can make the wine themselves is rich because the people want to come to them. They have a bigger house. You're
not rich until people agree that you actually know what you're doing.
Well, I thought that was implied.
No, because they'll just kill you and take it, and they'll find the next person who knows how to make it.
Well, no, I meant it was implied by what I was saying in my little story there. That was just a step I skipped for brevity. It's also, everybody wanted wine. That's the thing.
Because even today,
that the churches made money and are famous for all kinds of booze and wines and champagnes and.
Dude, if you can find some Mormon whiskey, you could fucking make you some money.
You could probably ask Telltale for some of that. He's probably got the recipe.
No, like they brewed whiskey back in the days. And if you can find some of that, I guess you don't brew whiskey, but whatever you do.
Well, you age it after you distill it.
Yeah. They made whiskey. And that's like really hard to find. It's like gold.
Well, it's just about my bedtime, and I got to go flop my laundry into the dryer thing.
Is that what you call it?
You go fluff a Garfield.
Pretty
All right.
much. No, you're the one that's got the giraffe, man. Come on.
If you know what I mean.
I don't have a clue.
Did you
It's a
watch
euphemism.
That? You watch that video of the Fluff Your Garfield thing that I sent?
Yeah, I did, man. That shit is funny as fuck.
Dude, I watched that the night it was broadcast, and I was watching it with a friend of mine that I was living with, and she and I both fell off the fucking couch laughing our asses off. It was the first time she'd ever hit rewind on the DVR. We watched it over and over and over.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm just gonna go over here and fluff my Garfield, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my.
Nope. I fucking love that show. I got onto a rut of it 3 or 4 days ago, and I watched like 6 hours of it. All compilation videos.
You kids have fun.
All right, man.
I gotta work in the morning and all that crap because the holiday's over now.
Good to see you. Don't fuck up your laundry.
Right. That's pretty hard to do, but people do catch them on fire once in a while.
I've not done that, but I fucked up some laundry.
Oh. Right on.
Have a good night.
See you, man.
See ya.
So capitalism is cool as fuck, I think.
Dude, it was so hard to be, even in the chat, to be in the position of defending shit that I don't necessarily think is all that fucking great, or tearing down shit that I think is better than some options, just because that was the position that was still a more logical position than the one that he was trying to assert.
When I say like I'm a super strict capitalist, like I don't mean free market all the way capitalism. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not
because there's no way that fucking works either.
I'm not a goddamn pirate. You know what I mean? Like
pure capitalists, and pure libertarians, and pure communists all have the same problem: is that they are all relying on the decency of human beings to do the right thing, and
which
they
doesn't
just won't.
fucking exist.
Yeah, we just won't. We're humans. We're inherently selfish.
For the most part, most of us will most of the time.
Right.
But it only takes those few to ruin it. And it only takes even fewer to take advantage of a shit fucking system like communism. Yeah. And I'll just keep saying communism. Everybody else keeps saying socialism. I'm just going to keep saying communism. Because if he's going to fucking hyperbolize and spin everybody and call fascism capitalism.
I think part of the problem of his position is that it keeps people from saying that democratic socialism is a viable option because it's got that damn socialism word in it. You don't want to be attached to Owen because even he thinks that's not good enough.
I took that 5-point political test that has like, I can't remember, I think it's 5 different scales, left and right. And it named me as a social liberal or whatever, like, so that's fine. But I'm still like, I was mostly in the center on most of them, but
yeah, I am too.
I've got the fucking picture of it somewhere. I just tweeted it out, but yeah, I mean, I appreciate capitalism because I really think that it is what has brought the world out of poverty, or at least the amount of the world that has been brought out of poverty. It was because of capitalism.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also going the other direction now and requires some regulation to correct for that. And frankly, that means more socialism, but
there's no absolutes. So
right. And so long as you avoid going absolute in any direction, I mean, there's always going to be ebbs and flows. And right now I think we're at a point where we're definitely concentrating too much wealth, and you know, there's no fucking PC way to say that we need to be taking more money away from the people that are taking it away from the rest of us. Concentration of wealth comes from somewhere, and it's coming from labor. So there is that argument to be made. However, the answer isn't fucking communism, and it's not pure socialism either.
What I was really getting really kind of wanted to hop topics, and he started talking about privilege and shit. I'm like, man, I kind of want to debate that.
I had to let that go because that you start talking about that, and I really do just get pissed off. And
he snuck it in there, and I'm like, oh, yeah,
that's why I didn't sneak it in there. He knew he had to.
I know, but I'm like, yeah, I can't let that stand.
Yeah, no, you handled it better than I would have. I've gotten way more emotional about it. Like, fuck you. That's not what we're talking about. And if that's what you're talking about, we're not having the same fucking conversation. You're talking about Antifa, which is almost strictly a bunch of rich white kids.
Right.
Don't talk to me about fucking any of that shit when you're standing in support of the things that you say you hate. Fuck off. You're not going to have them both ways with me.
Right. Well, I mean, I took that political compass test, and I think I'm a far right libertarian. So, actually, I think it landed me closer to the right, but towards the middle of the spectrum on that. Actually,
yeah, I was talking about a different test. There's
a
new one that's out.
Is there a better one? Because I think that political compass test kind of sucks.
This one's got more. It's not a compass like a graph like that. It's got 5, and it like has a slider on each one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just try to find it for you right now, but my computer's so fucking slow, and I've got like 16 tabs open with videos.
Every time you try to do something, you just lost your camera up, came back up. we can hear you fine, but every time I can hear you click on something changes.
So when it freezes up on my screen, I know that you guys can't see me.
Right. You go Avatar, then we're like, So.
So did you get a bunch of people moved out today at the motel?
It's Monday, so I assume the parking lot's not as full as it was, and the internet's been working all day, about as good as it had been, which isn't great, but my computer's running slow, which is bothering me. I don't know what that's all about.
Buddy, okay. I was like, my Twitter's blown up.
Oh.
Okay, nothing interesting. Oh, maybe it's this. Aha! He found it. Lane found it. I think. Is this the one? Hold on, let me cut and paste here. And that one?
Oh, I don't think that was it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I think I've seen this one, but I haven't taken it yet. Yeah, I'm very. I guess I'm what Owen would call an ultra capitalist. An ultra capital that.
So you're like no regulations, no. Well, you told me that you consider yourself a libertarian.
Yeah, so not. There are lots of, in my opinion, there are lots of market measures that work instead of actual regulations. So some of the regulations are. Hold on. Some are needed, obviously.
What's a market measure? Is that something somebody on their own can do?
Yeah. So basically.
So, hold on. So how do you enforce that? How do you enforce that people do those things?
You don't. So what I'm trying to say is let's try and think of a good one. So with like Chick-fil-A, where they were like, we don't support gay marriage, and so when certain companies take a certain stance, it's also it works in a way to, rather than the government say you have to do you have to have a certain way of doing things. If people know what's going on with each company. Then they'll behave better. There's a certain amount of regulations that you can eliminate just by.
Isn't that just like saying people will work even if money isn't the motivation?
No. It's like saying we don't buy from.
You're counting on a factor that has never applied.
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is you don't. People boycott companies because they're doing shitty things, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm saying, yeah, there's some regulations there's obviously plenty of regulations that we need. I'm just saying that regulations.
Thank God, that's all you had to say.
Well, I said that a minute ago.
All right. Well, I guess I need a clarification.
I still have concerns about how. My question will be at the end of your comment. Can you name a company that's happened to, a large enough corporation where significant number of jobs and money was affected.
What do you mean? I mean, what are you asking?
No Exxon spill has cost them market share.
Well, I mean, there's been plenty of companies that people have been boycotting because they've done shitty things.
But have any of those businesses gone out of business?
Was
the actual penalty nil, or was there justice served?
Well, okay, so there's PR, there's bad PR. So a lot of times, what I'm saying, a lot of times, if some bad shit happens, a lot of times the market itself can correct the bad shit. So if I say somebody's doing something unethical or something, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a regulation or a law passed.
For example, a restaurant isn't serving black people.
Right. Then everybody's like, fuck that restaurant. And then they all protest, and the restaurant eventually is like, oh, yeah, well, we need to serve black people because this is stupid. We're losing money, and everybody's boycotting our restaurant because we're a bunch of dirtbags. Uh-huh. So, I mean, that was another reason why like in the civil rights era that they thought that a lot of people were like, no, let's just let these people, let's just let the jackasses who don't want to serve black people not serve black people, and we're going to get all the black people, we're going to get all the black business. There's a lot of people that had that opinion back then. So you kind of get what I'm saying.
Where you were,
yeah.
A white guy that owns a restaurant that only serves black folk in most of Alabama isn't going to be in business.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I'm not far from you in my stance on that position. I lean a little bit the other way, but not much.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, basic things like such and such doesn't provide some sort of abortion thing that they don't like. So
those are all social issues, and I absolutely agree with you that
right. What I'm saying is they don't need there doesn't need to be a regulation to.
But when you look at that, when a business does serious, environmental damage is the thing that.
Well, that affects.
Let's say, for a crazy example, sets a river on fire.
Right. Or
what I'm saying
several
is
companies have conspired to dump into a river that suddenly caught fire.
Right. Okay. Let's put it this way: when they infringe on other people outside of their business, that's when regulations are needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's basically where they are.
Yeah. I don't think.
I'm talking about like social things.
I don't think anybody is suggesting that businesses should live up to any kind of a social contract, like i.e. that it shouldn't be okay for Chick-fil-A to have a stance against gay marriage. I don't eat there. I didn't eat there much before, and I don't eat there anymore, so no skin off my back.
Well, I eat there because it's delicious, but
gay marriage has not affected my business to their establishment whatsoever.
Domino's is the biggest contributor to anti-abortion rights, so I don't give him any of my fucking money for that either.
See, that's the market. that's you saying fuck this guy.
They're doing because of my stance.
They don't need a regulation to say, hey, you gotta do this and you gotta do that specifically. I'm more of, I'm like, don't pollute the rivers, don't dump stuff, don't do that kind of thing. But as far as like, you have to provide instead of saying the company that already provides health insurance is like, well, you have to buy this specific type of health insurance. I'm like, well, no, you don't, because you could go and get that health insurance somewhere else, or you can go get you can go work somewhere else. I mean, that's kind of my stance on that type of thing. If you get what I'm saying there.
Yeah, my concern in Indiana, our lovely fucking former Governor Pence signed into law probably the country's dumbest RFRA legislation, the Restoration of Religious Freedom, whatever the fuck it is. As it sits, our revised version is still, there's no Indiana law that you can't use your religion as a defense against.
I'm to be honest, if it's you want to say something's against religion, it doesn't bother me. That saying it doesn't. I have no problem with that.
Well, that was one of the things that pissed me off about Owen too, is he was talking about how those people don't think highly of him because he's mixed race. Well, those people don't think highly of me because I'm an atheist.
Right. I mean,
I live within 35 miles of the last national headquarters of the KKK.
Right.
Don't talk to me about how you're fucking marginalized because of your skin color. I'm marginalized because of what I think. I don't whine about that to you. I don't want to hear your bullshit either. Right.
But I'm just if there's a side for freedom, that's the side that I'm going to be on. If there's a hey, just let me do me, then that's basically whatever the fucking thing is, as long as it's not hurting someone else, then that's the side that I pick every time.
Any law is always going to be anti-freedom.
Well,
any law is at its very core anti-freedom.
It's anti some behavior.
Well, I mean, there's the laws that keep you from infringing on others. Those are the kind of laws that are necessary.
The law restricts your freedom in the way to try to stop you from infringing on others. I mean, they really can't stop you, but they can punish you for it. So
it still is what it is.
Yeah,
Right.
but you're free to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm talking in the very basic sense. I'm not actually trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to
Right.
give you a little more to think about on it.
Let me give you this kind of example. Like where I work, the government says you can only have a certain type, because we do a little woodworking, and so like they're only like, you can only do this type of tree, and you have to fill out 18 miles of paperwork in order to do this, and you have to get it. You have to.
Didn't some random company that does kind of some woodworking get in some trouble for having the wrong kind of wood?
Yeah, and it was bullshit. It was bullshit. So.
That sounds like a lot of bullshit.
It is bullshit, and we can talk about that some other time. But like it's just.
What are you talking about? I missed it.
That's okay. We're talking about regulations, specific regulations.
Like, I mean, some of them were they were written by bureaucrats and people who know nothing about the actual things that they're in. So, I mean, if we're going to write regulations, you need to have people that know how the fucking industry works, right?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the head of the EPA know how the fucking environment works.
Well,
Yeah.
the EPA used to be a decent thing, but they kind of overreach on a lot of stuff. But
I think they overregulate and under actually do their job, which is to protect.
yeah, they don't.
They don't have a fucking budget, so all they can do is write shit. Because they can't investigate, they can't prosecute. All they can do is levy fines because it's not a legal arm of the government. So we've got this thing that should have as big a teeth as we have to offer that anything outside the military, and they have absolutely no fucking teeth.
Well, from personal experience, they got plenty of teeth.
Well, but you can't go to jail for anything because from the EPA.
No, but you can be fined into oblivion, out of business.
Yeah.
That's
Look how much.
At least
how much
file
we give
bankruptcy.
fish cops have fucking teeth.
Yeah, the wildlife services have their own little army.
They have jurisdiction coast to coast. They have jurisdiction all over the United States.
I call those fuckers federales.
Yeah, well, during the Obama administration, he bought up all these guns, right? And he bought all these like AR-15s and shit, and gave them all to these fucking
Fish cops.
Yeah, fish cops. They gave him a lot of these fish and tree cops guys. They like, these guys really need these guys need these weapons. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't need the fish cops having huge ass guns. I mean,
there are 1,000 good reasons to have bad, especially those guys. Park rangers, completely different level of respect.
Chief, we got a couple stoners smoking a joint in the raft out on the middle of the lake. Get the 308.
Get the sniper rifle. We're gonna need a
grenades.
helicopter. Bring in the helicopter.
Fucking
No,
grenades.
fuck that. Get the laser marker. We're gonna call it an
Oh,
airstrike.
Jesus
We're calling it an
Christ.
airstrike on
No, I've seen it, and and you can see these guys on video doing raids of places with these guns. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit much, guys. You need to tone it down.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just come in there, and they're not gonna fight back. They're not gonna like shoot you. I mean, goddamn.
I don't know where you are.
Well, most of the time, like 90% of the time. If they start doing that, then you call in reinforcements.
To find a guy that will happily open up fire on a guy with an automatic weapon.
Well,
vehicle.
Yeah.
That shit happens around here, and we don't even have people running stills here.
Well, we got all kinds of people here, so but you know, most of the time,
I know I camp there a lot, or I used to anyway.
Most of the time they'll leave, and then they can always leave and come back with some, you know, some dudes with equipment, as it were.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're a religious outpost, then we'll stand outside for 3 or 4 months.
Fucking
get cold and go home.
But yeah, I gotta find some more people because I actually really enjoyed that, despite how much of a clusterfuck it was.
Yeah, I'd say the only skill that you could really improve upon is your ability to demand that you get an answer to the question that you ask. But like you said, you have ADD, so you're inclined to.
I was trying to read because I kept seeing things that I'm like, why wouldn't you ask this? And I was like, hold on, I'm trying to hear. I was trying to listen to his whole conversation without zoning out, with his whole part of the conversation without zoning out, which is getting kind of hard when he was saying shit that was obvious bullshit. But you got to listen to the bullshit to try and get to where his brain is.
Yeah. Here's the tip: if you want to have a conversation with the dude, don't look at chat at all. If you want to have a conversation with the dude and chat, then look at chat. But
yeah, I know.
You can't really do both.
That's why I kind of next time I need to have someone else just kind of sit on and, you know, kind of make it a little bit more of a debate. Just
have a moderator.
Not, I don't really want to. You know, it makes it sound so. When you have a moderator.
I think you maybe a better goal for if you're going to go with a third person is to try to find somebody that's the middle between you and the person that's your subject,
or somebody that just doesn't give a fuck, or somebody
I'll get the white YouTuber in here.
Yeah, perfect.
Did you guys happen to see he debated Owen yesterday? Quote unquote debated. The conversation lasted less than 20 minutes, and it was like. And then Owen left, and the thing went on for another hour and something. It went on for like 2.5 hours, and it was just turned into the white YouTuber inviting on whoever was in the chat. I'm just like, what is this?
That's awesome.
I was really because I wanted to see his part so I could be like, okay, maybe he'll bring this shit up, and then it's just worthless.
This thing just fucking shit on me.
What?
I said this thing just shit on me.
Oh, I thought you said something just shit on me.
Something did just shit on me. Right in my mouth.
Mmm.
It's gross.
Your vape poop on you?
No. My other thing.
No. You ate a turd?
Yeah.
That's what I love about my box is it comes with a poker.
Somebody just posted this thing that says, of the last 4 presidents, which is your favorite? And I'm like, how about none of them?
The last 4?
Yeah.
So Clinton, Bush.
No, he's including Trump. So Trump,
Bush, Clinton.
Yeah. Clinton, Bush, Obama.
I'm like, none?
Clinton, man.
Clinton.
Come on.
Nah.
He was cool as fuck. Our first black president.
Technically, our first black president was actually
the last really good leader we had.
The first black president would be fucking Eisenhower. I think Eisenhower. Was it Eisenhower? I think it was Eisenhower. He was a quarter black. He was a quarter black.
I just They called Bill Clinton the first black president because he was just so cool and hip and
yeah. Even though he had all these connections to the Klan. He's got all these bad connections to the Klan and all these other fucking people. And I'm like, nah, I don't think the first black president's gonna be buddy with like Klans people, or quote unquote former Klans people. That's why I'm not a Clinton fan.
Well,
I was just trying to be funny.
He and David Duke went at it pretty good for a while. That was entertaining to watch.
Well, like Clinton's brother, it's like was just as he's just really racist too, if I remember right. But and what was something I was trying to remember who what her Hillary's mentor. I forget who. I'm trying to remember his name.
McGovern?
Huh?
McGovern?
I don't remember. It was somebody. It was brought up something the other day that he's got this college fund named after him, but I forgot what it was, and I shouldn't even brought it up. But anyway, well, yeah, I know David Duke, but that's not.
I'm trying to remember. Did he run in the primary against George H. Bush?
Who did? David Duke?
Yeah, he ran for president. He ran for the.
That guy flips parties. He's like, well, no one's gonna elect me as a Democrat, and then like no one's gonna elect me as a Republican, and you get even less votes as a Republican as he did as a Democrat.
Job doing anything other than cleaning up
being retarded. No fucking. I was going somewhere. I was getting something. My brain. Oh, like. What amuses me is that Clinton is like Bill Clinton and Hillary talking about the rebel flag, or any of them talking about the rebel flag. Do you remember the old pins from the Clinton Gore election, the first ones?
Yep.
With the rebel battle flag on them.
Yep. The New South.
Yeah, the New South. And like fucking, that's a nod to Bill, all of Al Gore's daddy's buddies, because Al Gore's dad was a fucking racist through and through too.
So's my dad.
Yeah, well, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty fucked up.
I think we both get what we just said.
I know. I just have to. I'm in that mode now.
It's cool. I had one little comment to make.
You wore that shirt yesterday, so that's what I'm gonna say.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I noticed a long time ago.
My days are running together because I'm getting no sleep.
Yeah, mine do that all the time.
A lot of times when I go to jump on these streams, I'll look at the shirt I'm wearing and go, "Fuck, I'm wearing the same shirt I was wearing yesterday or the day before."
Yeah,
it'll change.
I was wearing yesterday.
That's okay. Yeah. I got a shower today.
Yeah.
No one can see me, so we're good.
Well, I put this on right before I took a shower last night, so I feel like that deserves an extra day.
Oh, okay, sure.
We'll
let it slide this time. We'll let you slide this time. Why is it course?
It's not 48 hours in or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it is, you just turn it inside out.
Yeah, because logic looks.
Wait, no, that doesn't work with shirts. You can only do that with underwear. It's
good with sweatshirts.
Oh, gross. Fuck. All right.
Shirts you wear till they start to like discolor. Pants you can wear till like you can literally smell them yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then you're like, ooh, fuck.
I usually wear a shirt until I get something on it, but it takes about 28 hours.
Yeah, that's like 5 hours for me. I get
change all the time because I work it in fucking 100 and bitch degrees.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's 78% humidity here right now.
Like sweating all day,
all the way down.
I'm so glad.
Sweat. Just drips off me all day. I'm just wet.
I got out the canister sprayer and went out in the backyard and sprayed weeds for about 20 minutes, and I came inside just dripping. Fucking walked around the backyard. I literally did nothing but walk around the backyard. Not exactly briskly because I was looking for fucking weeds to spray.
I need to start making other streams about things.
Yeah.
Stop making useless streams.
Right, it's fun, man.
Yeah.
You can always end it too, and we can just sit here and bullshit all night.
Might as well. There's nobody watching.
Yeah, well, then there's no reason to end it.
I think late. Well, somebody said like a 14-hour
Well,
show.
no, I
Oh my
mean-
god. Yeah, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna end it, and we can just keep talking here.
Yeah,
Broadcast. Bye bye.